Well, Brian, the object of all the attention here in Regina is the Labatt Brier tankard. Today it will be passed to a new team, and new Canadian champions will be crowned. 8 days ago, the spotlight shone on Halifax as Canada's first major curling championship was about to be won. A good omen for Manitoba. Connie Laliberty led her Winnipeg rink to victory over Team Canada to claim her second national title. The first came in 1984 in Charlottetown. Laliberty clearly loves the East Coast. Laliberty's victory set up the distinct possibility of Manitoba sweeping Canada's major curling honors. More omens in 1984. After Connie won, Mike Riley's rink completed the double by beating Ontario. Now Manitoba skip Vic Peters looks to do it again. Outstanding shot making has afforded him the opportunity. And fate has already become a player in the piece. Friday the 13th, the ninth end of a 4-4 tie. Alberta's second, Dan Petrick, slipped, burning the rock and dimming Alberta's hopes. That win gave Manitoba first place and the bye. Time to consider fate, to wonder if history will repeat, and they too will follow in the footsteps of Connie Laliberty.
I know those girls quite well, and they practice and play real hard, and it's a real good feeling to see something from your city win, and gives you a little added boost.
For Vic Peters, the time to face destiny has come. In a few minutes, he'll live out his Brier dream.
Not on the inside.
The year 1987, and Russ Howard was on top of his game and on top of the heat. He won it all in Edmonton, and the future looked bright. But just a few years later, Russ and brother Glenn considered retirement. Instead, they rebuilt their rink and rewrote the books. Wins came in droves this season. The new-look Howard team rolled into the semifinals, and yesterday put on an awesome display of shot-making that overwhelmed reigning Brier champion Kevin Martin of Alberta. The Howard rink is a perfect blend of youth, desire, and the most important asset of all, experience.
I hope it counts a lot, because we've been there a few times and Vic hasn't, but he's a cool dude. He can curl well, and you know, it's probably that situation. You hate to say it, but he'll beat you one time, you'll beat him the next time, and we just hope it's our turn.
Russ Howard brought a 51-4 record to Regina. Now only one victory stands between him and the Brier tankard. Welcome to this Ides of March showdown in the heartland. Regina, Saskatchewan is the place, and the Labatt Brier, Canada's curling championship, is the prize. Today, the torch will be passed as Ontario meets Manitoba for the national title. You're looking live at Regina's Agridome, where this afternoon the new kings of curling will claim their crown. Hi, everybody. I'm Don Whitman, along with two-time Canadian and world champion Don Duguid. Don, this afternoon, if Russ Howard continues to curl as he did yesterday in the semifinal, can Vic Peters of Manitoba keep pace?
Well, I really think he can, Don. He's the type of curler who loves to gamble. He has the advantage of last rock, and that's very, very important, especially when you're playing Russ Howard. I think they can rise to the occasion. They have to go after Russ early, keep it close, and hope to catch him at the end. But if Russ Howard curls like he did yesterday, Don, it could be a long, long day.
In round-robin play, Manitoba defeated Ontario 6-4. Manitoba finished atop the standings and first place. But I think Vic Peters comes into this game as a bit of an underdog.
Well, I really think he does, and it's unfortunate because he's an exceptional team. I mean, Russ Howard's won everything there is to win in curling, but I think Vic Peters can stay with him.
Well, it's Manitoba's Vic Peters against Russ Howard, the 1987 Canadian and world curling champion in this Labatt Brier final. Right now, let's go down to ice level, and here's Colleen Jones.
Thanks, Don. You know, you were talking about all the omens in this Brier, pointing to a Manitoba victory. But, of course, they're going to need a lot more than omens to beat this hot-shooting Ontario team. They were so great yesterday in their semifinal win over Alberta. Manitoba with the advantage of last rock, although talking to Vic Peters the other day, he said that perhaps is overrated because in those first couple of ends, nerves are such a factor. Howard, with all the experience on his side, he's been here before. He's won over $100,000 this year. He certainly is going to be cool and calm under all the pressure they'll face today. The ice is very conducive to aggressive style of play, and both teams know they've got to go after their deuce. Nobody's going to be given a deuce. They're going to have to play finesse in order to get that. Back to you, Don.
Well, as we start this game, Manitoba will, because of their first place finish, have last rock advantage. And last rock advantage could be a very key factor in this Labatt Brier championship game. Yesterday, of course, in the semifinal, Russ Howard disposed of defending champion Kevin Martin of Alberta. The score in that one was 7-4. Some brilliant shot making by all members of the Ontario Championship squad, but particularly Glenn Howard and Russ Howard in the sixth end.
Well, if we get any kind of game like we did yesterday, Don, once again our viewers are in for a tremendous show, because that was just outstanding shots. Shot after shot, it was unbelievable. They were going through narrow ports, they were finessing the rock, they were hitting and rolling to all sorts of spots on the ice, and it was just an exceptional display of curling.
And you know, for the Alberta team, they curled 82% as a team, and Ontario comes out and plays 86. Anytime you play 82%, it's usually good enough to win, but not on that day.
Peter Corner, the lead for Ontario. The police constable in the Halton region, with the opening draw coming up to the top of the 12-foot. And Vic Peters immediately asks for the removal of that stone. And you saw that he was also checking his stopwatch. In recent years, the stopwatch has become a vital part of a curler's equipment.
Well, the stopwatch gives you a guideline for how fast it is down the center or on the outside, and you're always checking it. It's used only as a guideline, mind you, not as absolute gospel on how keen it is.
Don Rudd removes the Ontario stone. So the two leads, Rudd of Manitoba and Corner of Ontario, have exchanged rocks to start the game. And now Peter Corner will be going after that Manitoba rock sitting just at the top of the ring.
I was really interesting waiting for maybe for the Ontario team to drop it out in front, Don. I thought maybe Vic Peters may go around it immediately, but they played very tight to the rings, and that's why Vic Peters had to run it off.
When these teams met in round-robin play, Manitoba won by a score of 6-4. Manitoba, with last rock advantage, picked up a single point in the first end and then stole two on the second. But Howard came back, and after 5 ends, the match was even at 4. But then in the sixth end, Manitoba picked up a pair, and that's the way it ended. 6-4, Manitoba defeating Ontario.
Well, Manitoba can play both types of games, Don. They're good at the run game, running off rocks, and they're also good at the draw game, so both games suit them. It's just a question of how many points they're going to get up or down, depends on how they play the game. Of course, if they get down, they're going to be a lot more draws. And if they get up, they're very efficient at running it. And I think the big thing for Manitoba is their front end is going to have to stay with Corner in the daw. Neufeld's going to have to out-curl the daw, and that's a big job. But I think Chris Neufeld can do it. Rudd kind of struggled this week, Don, in the round-robin play. He's going to have to out-curl Corner, and all the way down the line, you're playing the man opposite you. Dan Carey's going to have to out-curl Glenn Howard. Big, big job. And, of course, Vic can try and out-curl Russ Howard.
Chris Neufeld, a 34-year-old baker from Gimli, Manitoba. He operates Central Bakery. His specialty, he tells me, is apple strudel, and he has a lot of customers, a lot of vacationers in the Gimli area visiting his shop during the summer months.
You know, another thing about these two teams, two contrasting deliveries. Manitoba up on their toes. Ontario team flat-footed. And we'll try to give you an ISO on both those deliveries and how Manitoba stays up on their toe. Really good for hitting. Maybe give up a bit on drawing, but exceptional deliveries. Of course, Russ Howard, the patented smooth as silk delivery. The same with Glenn, Wayne, and Peter.
Wayne Middaugh and Peter Corner, who are cousins, asked us to say hello today to their grandfather, Jim Mullies, 82 years of age, who is watching the match. An avid curling fan, and with even more interest, of course, with Wayne and Peter involved in the Labatt Brier final.
Now you see Vic Peters down at the other end, motioning his hand in front of his chest or up near his chin. That means he's indicating to Neufeld what kind of weight he wants. Maybe up a little bit, maybe not quite as much as to run off guards, but steady weight.
He catches a corner of that Ontario stone and just enough to remove it. Now, this game is a little different from the semifinal yesterday. We've had an exchange of rocks in the semifinal involving the defending champion Kevin Martin of Alberta and Russ Howard. There were rocks in play from the opening end on.
feel like that?
Well, I think it all stemmed from the very first rock that the Ontario team threw, Don. If it was in front of the house, I wouldn't have been a bit surprised to see Vic Peters go around it. But it was in the 12-foot, so Manitoba had no choice but to take it off.
And even on this play here, Russ Howard was asking Glenn, what do you think of going out in front? And Glenn shook his head and said, no, get right in there under the tee line.
Exactly right. Up on the left, you'll see we're counting rock time here, and this is for the draw from hog line to where it stops. Now that's roughly 22.5 seconds, Don, from the hog line to the top of the house. To the tee line, it probably would have been about 24.5, which means it is very keen ice. And this is the first end where the pebble hasn't been worn down yet.
And that's about where it was running all week, so it's always nice for the curlers to know they're playing on pretty much the same kind of ice as what they had yesterday.
Dan Carey at third stone for Manitoba. Oh, he's going to miss this one.
Well, that
may have picked something up because it curled rather quickly as it got close to the hog line. You saw the sweepers leave it. And the first break of this championship game goes to Ontario, as Dan Carey can only wonder what may have happened to his stone, and Russ Howard will try and take advantage of the miss.
Come around. Yeah.
Well, the key for the front end, Don,
this is really tough. You don't want to hang it out.
They must sweep the rock all the way down, or brush it, even lightly, to keep the hair or debris out from in front of the rock. And the minute you lift your brush, the danger of that happening increases. So you must keep the rock clean, or the running path of the rock. Now for Glenn Howard, an in-turn draw, keeping in mind that the top of the 12-foot was 22.5 seconds, so he'll be throwing about 23-second draw. Hope the boys can sweep it around the rock in the top of the 12-foot.
So Glenn was saying, as he settled down in the hack, this will be a tough come-around, but he has made the top shot.
Well, now they want to get a lot of separation between the one in the top of the 12-foot and the 4-foot, and that's a great shot. And Vic Peters won't try to pick that one out of there. He'll try to run them both.
Tell him to keep it clean.
Right on the nose?
Right on the nose is right. If you hit it right on the nose, you'll make the double and stay right there.
Same weight. Same weight? Same weight you just threw. Okay.
Now you see the brush being held right in the center of the rock, so it runs very, very straight down there, especially opening end. Oh, they yelled right away.
He drives it harmlessly past the shot stone sitting on the edge of the button. The shooter rolls for a bite of the 12. Ontario lies 1.
Well, that's a good shot because he's opened up the one in the 4-foot, but the big thing is that he got a bite of the 12-foot, Don. Howard cannot afford to let that one stay there, so he's going to play it.
I think we got to hit it. Yeah. Should stay straight here, eh? Got to roll this way.
Yeah. Should stay. Glenn always playing the roll, Don. He says you got to roll this way to cover up the one in the 12-foot or in the 4-foot. Tough shot first in, playing rolls. But they played on this sheet about 4 times this week and practiced on it about 5 times. So.
Is that going to...
It's curling pass. No, he's going to hang around. Way over in the corner, it's a little bit heavy. Is it going to stop in time? Just out of the rings. Big break for Manitoba.
You always wish your rock would grow teeth then.
I got off at once.
Sometimes they'll take a nice spin in at the last second.
Exactly.
Not that time, though.
Well, there's no rock's been played over there, you know, so there's lots of pebble over there, and you think it might dig in a little bit better, but this ice is very good, very keen. A lot of rotation on that rock, and that's why it spins out.
For those who are looking in this afternoon and may not be totally familiar with curling terminology, perhaps you could explain for their benefit when you talk about pebble exactly what you mean.
Well,
I don't think yours was a hair because it didn't...
Pebble the ice, meaning they put some water on it, and actually beads of water, Don. And what happens, the rock runs along the top of those. At the early ends, it's very heavy because the tops of that pebble are very sharp. And what the rock is doing is knocking off the tops of that pebble. And as the game progresses, they kind of round that pebble so it runs a little bit more smoothly.
So the ice should keen up as the game progresses.
As the game progresses, they knock the top off the pebble and it gets a little bit smoother and the rock glides a little bit more. Here's a good shot. Boy, it's nice to get that first one underway, hit it and roll to an area. You feel a lot of confidence after the first one. You're a little bit nervous.
And because of the proximity of Regina to Winnipeg, a number of curling enthusiasts from Manitoba have made the drive to Regina. Some have been here for the entire week. Others have come over for this championship game.
Now, in the ninth inning against Alberta yesterday, Russ Howard played 2 out-turn hits down here, so he should know how it runs. And I think it'll stay the same as it was yesterday. So we'll just watch this rock and see how it reacts.
Throughout the week, if you throw a little bit too much weight here, it just kind of floats back on you and won't come up. Pretty much where you put the broom is where you hit the rock.
A nose hit for Russ Howard. Ontario lies 1. 1 rock to be delivered, that by Manitoba skip Vic Peters, and Peters would like to hit and roll out and blank this opening end, retaining last rock advantage into end 2.
That rock that's on the side there makes it a little bit tougher blank than normal because you always risk kind of rolling over to that and hanging on.
That's exactly right, Colleen. And this is why Vic Peters is playing the intern, because he's trying to clip it down here and roll his shooter out over this way. But where it is now, if he hits it on the inside, he could come over here onto that one and end up taking one, which he doesn't want to do.
Right, but by hitting it on the high side, he's got all those rings to roll out through.
Very difficult.
A whole lot, as much as when there's frost, okay? Yeah, normal.
Normal hit. He's going to hit it right on the nose.
So with last rock, Vic Peters does not roll out of the rings as he had hoped to do. And Manitoba on the opening end of this Brier final picks up a single point. It's 1-0, Manitoba leading Ontario.
The Brier on Sports Weekend. Brought to you by Labatt's Blue and Labatt's Light. And by Mazda. It just feels right.
Hey, listen, I left my keys inside. Can I go get them? I leave my wallet? Oh, thanks. My girlfriend left her keys. Can I run give them to her? Go. Thanks. Thanks. Thanks.
Labatt's Blue.
Hey! Any trouble getting in?
Now you're laughing.
With sweeping lines that soothe the senses. Dual airbags that make more than sense. And innovations like using the sun to cool the interior. What else could we have called this car? The new 929 Surrender from Mazda.
Remember Coroner Wojak?
Television's original crusading coroner returns. Wojak is back.
It's crazy.
Still fighting the system.
Are you trying to tell these people what to feel?
And his past.
I found the medical profession too cutthroat for me, Mr. Coroner.
Dad, you just up and left.
My father's dead, isn't he?
You still know how to run, Steve.
Wojak out of the fire.
Don't say please. You never say please. I changed.
A CBC movie special. Tonight.
Manitoba is the undisputed champion in total Brier wins with 22. That record gives some indication of how tough the competition is in that great curling province. So for Vic Peters' Granite Club rink, just getting to Regina's Brier has been quite an accomplishment.
It's so tough. Our repeaters are so seldom seen. You know, we got guys like Stoughton and Burtnick and Bubs, and they've you know, once in the last decade kind of thing. And the province is so tough that that was our big focus, was that, you know, we're not going to be gazing and we're not going to be looking around too much because this may be our only chance.
And they've made the most of that chance, winning the round robin and carrying Manitoba's colors proudly, a tribute to Peters' considerable talent and his unquestionable love of the game.
personally, I enjoy the game so much that I enjoyed the practice. I practiced an awful lot because I was an ice maker for a lot of years, and that kept us going. I always thought that maybe one day I'd get another chance, and all you can do is try to get to a final of a province, and you know, eventually your turn will come, and that's what happened. That's real bone. Yeah.
Vic's been knocking at the door for some time, but the current edition of his rink, Dan Carey, Chris Neufeld, and Don Rudd, has been together for just 1 year. Peters knows how close they are to realizing the dream of every competitive curler.
This is a female.
Well, it's a goal from, you know, I'm sure my team feels the same way. It's something we've looked at and watched on TV and always dreamed about. So it would be a dream come true.
Intimidation won't be a factor. Peters just doesn't scare easily. While it's his first Brier, he's a seasoned veteran, long on experience.
I'm sure it'll be a little bit tough to sleep knowing that we're only one win away from a dream. So you know, we just have to focus on the shots at hand and try to block out, you know, the consequences.
22 Brier wins for Manitoba, and a great rink that has come to Regina with just one number in mind, 23.
And with Vic Peters leading by a score of 1-0, there are 2 Manitoba stones in the rings on the second end. Russ Howard, however, will have last rock advantage on this second end. Vic's wife, Deb, watches anxiously the progress of this Wayne Middaugh stone down towards the shot rock at the back of the 4-foot. And it's a perfect freeze by Ontario.
Well, the whole end started. Vic threw it in the 4-foot, the very first rock, and right away Russ Howard froze to it, Don. So you know that Russ Howard is going for 2 points automatically.
Well, it's incredible. The teams are so good now. There's no such thing as an easy deuce anymore. You really have to earn it. If you're going to score a 2 in this game, you've got to make freezes like that.
Well, I think you have to start right away, too. And Vic basically wasted his last rock advantage. Didn't waste it. He made a good shot, but he wanted to roll out and maintain the advantage of it. And sometimes that has a direct bearing in how this game finishes.
Exactly. Anytime you can blank an end and hit and roll out and you wind up taking a point, you never want to just be forced to take one in this game. You always want to earn your deuce.
Manitoba now has the shot stone on Chris Neufeld's takeout. Vic Peters talked about the opposition he has to contend with in trying to get out of the province of Manitoba. This year in the Manitoba final, he defeated Jim Ursel, last year's Canadian seniors champion and a former Canadian champion when he was representing Quebec.
Well, you know, in that Manitoba playdowns, there was 3 senior teams down very close, one being Barry Fry, the other one being Oris Melichek, former world champion, and Jimmy Ursel. And Ursel rubbed a garter he might have beat Vic Peters to get here.
Wayne Middaugh trying to remove that Manitoba stone, which he does, and it appears as though Ontario now lies 2 with that successful takeout by Wayne Middaugh, a 24-year-old ice maker and golf professional. He's under headman Neil Verway at the St. George's Club in Toronto.
One nice thing for this Manitoba team coming into this is that they came into the whole Brier, not only this final, but the entire week as underdogs. And, you know, the pressure was on teams like Russ Howard and Kevin Martin and Al Hackner and Jim Armstrong. And so Manitoba was just able to kind of slide in there for the first couple of days until people started paying attention to them.
Big shot here for Dan Carey, Don. If he can get a little bit of movement on his shooting rock, maybe roll over to the right-hand side in front of the other ones. That's a good shot. So he moved a little closer now. If Ontario hits that rock on the nose, it'll be an opportunity for Vic Peters maybe and or Dan Carey to hit that one and make the double. And that's why Russ wants to roll to the right-hand side. He knows that if he hits it on the nose, there's a good chance Manitoba could make a double.
He's trying to take the play away from those 2 rocks on the left-hand side of the screen as you look at the house from the throwing end.
Well, the way the end is progressing, all they have to do is keep exchanging shots, and Ontario scores their deuce.
Boy, he's really cut his weight down quite a bit here, Glenn. He's starting to move on him. He's not going to get the roll. He's going to stay right there. Now, the opportunity is there.
Is there a chance for two for Manitoba?
Oh, there's no question, and that's the advantage of, you know, sometimes hitting and staying in an area, hoping the other team hits it on the nose.
Just normal. What do we got to hit? Foot half. Okay. Normal. Yep.
You hear Vic yelling down to Dan Carey, normal weight. And, of course, Dan Carey saying, how much do I have to hit? He says about half a rock. If he hits a half a rock, Don, he will make the double.
It's really like a chess game, isn't it? I mean, your first shot might be exactly what you want, but it sets it up for the next shot.
We're going to have to go hard on this one. He's going to get any kind of roll. Oh, that's a good shot. That's a good shot.
He doesn't move the second Ontario shot, but the shooter does roll over on top of that stone. Manitoba lies one.
Came up at the end. Yeah.
Seeing it come up in the end means the rock finished a bit. There was a little bit movement, even with takeout weight.
Just didn't want that flare deal. Yeah, well, I know. Good shot. Board.
Got it.
There's a chance here for Ontario, Don, if he hits three-quarters of that rock to make a double and roll to the left-hand side, and we'll get a little bit of separation.
Wow. Wow.
They're not laying much brush to this one.
He pushes it through cleanly, but the shooter will roll out. Ontario is left with shot stone, but that's the rock that Manitoba will now go after.
Well, that rock obviously fell all the way down the ice.
Yeah, I was worried about that. As soon as we jumped it, that's that same spot, eh? That's a lot of ice for board.
Is that wider, though? A lot of ice. Remember you said you thought it might have been practice.
Only draw, though.
Always discussing, always saying, did I throw it out?
There's curl here pretty good, eh, Denny?
And it's very important that they keep that communication, because sometimes you throw it out and the skip says, well, no, you were a little bit wide.
Not a ton of separation.
And you think you throw it good. So it's very important that that communication. You even heard Vic Peters saying, now this one moves here pretty good, doesn't it? They have to hit it on the high side. No, sir.
He jammed it back onto his own, and that was the worst thing that could have happened for Manitoba, because he leads Ontario with shot stone, and Russ Howard now has a chance to draw to the other side of the house to lie to.
Well, it was a tough shot for Vic anyhow, because they were frozen, and
Point it in a little bit. Yeah.
of course it doesn't help if you put it in a little bit.
Yeah. Denny did that, eh? And it kind of... But I might have given him more ice. I might have given him that. That weight wasn't down, was it? No?
Yeah. I'm talking about the weight. He might have put it in, or maybe he should have taken a little bit more ice.
Now, there is a contrast in the deliveries of Vic Peters and Russ Howard. Russ Howard is more of the textbook style of delivery, isn't he?
Well, he's really flat-footed and turns his foot way out wide. He gets his knee underneath his arm. Classic delivery, though. Vic Peters likes the tuck delivery, and he's very efficient at it. They haven't laid a brush to this draw all the way down the ice, Don. They got to hope it digs in. Now, it's a good sign when the sweepers are moving it a bit. That's a nice touch.
Well, Russ Howard played takeouts on the first end. He has his draw weight down, as evidenced by his first shot on the second.
Doesn't matter. He's driving me nuts, this little cord.
If it's a little wider, is that on the line? Is it or no?
Flop a little to the line. It's a little tougher on the line, eh? Yeah, a little off.
Now, the brush being held by Dan Carey is right in the center of the rock, so you can say that this rock is going to run very, very straight down here. Now, what Vic Peters doesn't want to do, of course, is flare it out a bit, Don, because it'll ride, they say the line, it'll ride that outside of that line very, very straight. And he wants to hang around. He doesn't want to hit and roll up because he wants to make Russ Howard hit and stay for his two. He just doesn't want to give him a free draw. Oh, that's a good shot. Change position on it slightly, and you always want to do that. You know, because the other guy has the benefit of watching you throw it down that particular spot. You want to move it a bit, change his shot.
I think that was board, you'll miss it.
Really?
Yeah. I think there was bored myself. I threw it about there, didn't I, with Hack, and I was dead on the nose.
It's the exact same shot, isn't it?
Okay.
Mine will.
Okay.
I'll be down, boys.
Okay.
He'll be down board, which means he's just a little bit quieter than board. And you see a good third, Glenn Howard, refreshing his memory. Remember the one I threw down here? Very quiet, it ran very straight.
Well, Glenn only threw hack, but I wanted...
And Russ obviously has great confidence in brother Glenn at third stone.
Oh, well, Glenn knows the ice as good as Russ, let me tell you, because he's watching all the rocks go up and down. He knows how much movement.
They've also played together for so long, 8 years, and that really develops such confidence between the back end, and the fact that they're brothers helps too. This is great sweeping ice too. You can really give it to your sweepers on hits, and they'll hold it for you.
Well, this one is staying out. Now it's starting to make a little bit of move. Yeah, he's that nice weight, Don. You see it stayed very, very straight. Any more weight, he might have run out in there, but it curled just at the end. It's a good shot.
So with the hit and stick with his final stone of the second end, Russ Howard picks up a pair. And after 2 ends of play, Ontario leads Manitoba in this Labatt Brier final 2-1.
The Automobile Journalists of Canada took 3 months to test the finalists, but just a few seconds to choose the winner. The Mazda RX-7, voted Best New Performance Car of 1992.
Labatt's Light takes a refreshing look at the block party. There are large block parties. And then there are small block parties. But what's a block party without a party animal? Then there's the taste of a Labatt's Light, right out of the ice. Now that's refreshing.
I like the atmosphere of the Bank of Montreal. It suits my temperament. Well, I usually look around to see if she's around when I go into the bank. And of course, if she's there, I go over if she's not busy. But you know, as well as being knowledgeable, she's helpful. And I think your bank manager is tops.
At Mazda, we believe a car should just feel right. So do the Automobile Journalists of Canada. The MX-3 Presidia, voted Best New Sporty Car of 1992.
If a rink is to get to the top, the relationship between Skip and Vice must be unshakable. For Russ and Glenn Howard, that's the easy part. They're bonded by a common goal and by brotherhood.
Russ is a real perfectionist, and he likes to know how he's throwing it at all times. I don't think there's 3 shots in the 8 or 9 years we curl together that he hasn't asked me how he's throwing it. If he does turn it in a little bit and I tell him he threw it fine, then he doesn't really realize what's going on. So and he does the same thing to me, and I think it's really good that the way we do it.
The admiration of a brother, a shared quality and prime asset of this Howard rink, and it shines both on and off the ice.
Glenn's the premier vice in the country, and it's his attitude. Like he's intense. Like we played a game the other day, it's 6-0, and he's right into it. He's still going, and you know, we're a little bit different that way. I'm a little bit more lethargic, and you know, what color shirt do I wear, and people have to kind of press the buttons to get me up the elevator, and I'm maybe a little bit more low-key, and sometimes I go a little brain dead out there. And again, that's why we like the Moncton rule, because it keeps me into the game mentally, and Glenn does that. He's the spark plug, keeps us going, and you have to have that intensity to win.
But intensity must be tempered. For the Howards, that's no problem. Last night, after their semifinal win over Alberta, the rink kicked back for some relaxation. All the while, they focused on the job at hand.
My dream always was just to play with Russ in a Brier, and heck, here we are. We're a past world champion, and we've got a real good chance to maybe repeat. So the all-time dream was just to get to a Brier, and now everything is just a bonus.
For the Howards in their front end, Wayne Middaugh and Peter Corner, there's only one goal now: collect that bonus.
Russ Howard with his Ontario champions leading Manitoba 2-1, playing the third end. 1 stone in play, that belongs to Manitoba. Russ's wife Wendy is watching the action. She is here despite having surgery just a couple of days before the Brier got underway. And the parents of Russ and Glenn are also here watching the action, and they certainly enjoyed yesterday's semifinal win over Kevin Martin of Alberta. Some great shot making in that game, and I'm sure all our viewers across the country were treated to some spectacular shots and enjoyed them every bit as much as the fans here at the Agridome.
Really, it's been a year of, distractions for the Howard rink. Wayne Middaugh's back is acting up on him. He was flat on his back before the provincial championships, didn't think he could play in it. And in the middle of the provincials, Russ's son was in for emergency appendectomy, and Russ and Glenn's grandmother died back in January. I mean, they've really had their share of distractions this year.
And not only that, before the Ontario finals, Russ stepped on a nail while working in his basement. It embedded itself into the heel of his sliding foot. And he also had a case of tennis elbow in his throwing arm. So.
And then he came here and got his usual laryngitis. So.
Yeah, but that isn't hampering his throwing.
This is true. But I think his screaming is as much a part of his game as his shot making.
Definitely is. Carner and Midaugh were saying they found it to be a bit of a distraction the very first time they curled with Russ, but now they're accustomed to it.
Well, Midaugh and Corner always played back end. They were at a Canadian junior final that they lost to Jim Sullivan a couple of years ago, so it took them a while to get used to sweeping, let alone the yelling.
Anyway, this game is kind of dragging out there. Nobody's taking any chances.
Well, last end, Russ took his chances to get his deuce. He played the freezes, and now he's more than content with his 1-point lead. He'd rather have the hammer, but he's been putting it into the rings and making Manitoba hit them.
Well, I think Vic Peters, I don't think this is his type of game. I think he really has to go after Ontario. And I think he's got to pull the same scenario that Russ Howard did in the second end. Freeze to rocks that are in the top of the forefoot and take your chance there.
But
I mean, he's got to out-finesse them.
But Ontario's putting them above the tee line. They're making all the right kind of shots. They're keeping it above the tee line, and it's always much harder to freeze to a shot above the tee. But yesterday in the semifinal, when Ontario put the rock in the house, we saw Alberta's Kevin Martin put the corner guard up right away and ignore the rock in the house. So that's one option Peters has, too.
Wow. Glenn Howard going after the Manitoba stone, and will the shooter hang around? It does, on the edge of the 12-foot.
Yeah, I think Vic Peters has resigned himself to this particular end on and hoping to blank and maybe start something in the fourth end. And Colleen's right, the rocks were in front of the tee line, but I still think against Howard, you have to go after him. You cannot afford to let him have the free draws and the freezes. You have to attack him.
Well, and Howard's team doesn't make many mistakes. On the come-around game, they're certainly not going to make them on the wide-open game. And another time for Carey that his rock has picked up something.
And another rock lost to a hair, and I don't know why it's Manitoba rock, not the Ontario, but obviously these guys aren't jumping on it right away. And see, that really takes away the advantage for Manitoba having last rock.
Well, it sure does, because now Manitoba's in the situation where they're going to be forced to take one. And to have it happen twice to Carey is very, very, difficult. What happens is hairs from the brushes fall onto the ice surface, and then once your rock picks it up, it just veers off course badly.
Yeah. Keep it high, though, eh?
You heard Russ Howard say, keep it high. That's in front of the tee line. High means the front part of the house. Back end, of course, is the back end of the house. If it goes to the back of the tee line, Manitoba may freeze against it. So that's why he wants to keep it high.
No. Oh, right on.
Fortunate break for Manitoba, and of course Russ Howard, being the great curler that he is going to take advantage of it.
I would also think that Wayne and Peter, after just watching Carey's rock pick up something, should have been cleaning that rock all the way. Once, you think there are hairs out there that could be picked up.
Russ Howard with the draw to the back of the 8-foot. Ontario lies 2, and that's the stone that Manitoba skip Vic Peters will be going after.
Now here's a chance for Peters. He could freeze to this one in the back one. He knows that right now it's looking like he's going to be forced to take one, and if he froze here, he might get out of the end with a deuce.
Right out of his hand, eh? Wasn't his hair in? It looked like a stone or something. What?
Well, Vic, talking to the front end of Don Rudd and Chris Neufeld, said it appeared to be more of a stone than a hair.
The law.
And Vic Peters has a chance to freeze with this, but he's taking no chances. He's going to try and hit him, hoping, of course, that Ontario hits and rolls out, Don, and then he can blank the end. He has to hang around with this one. And I think you'll see the front end cleaning all rocks. Right as soon as they leave whoever's throwing the hand, they'll be on it. Okay, here's two contrasts in deliveries, Don. You'll see Russ Howard very flat-footed. Watch Vic Peters. You see he's up on his toe. His heel is on his other thigh. But one thing about them, they're both square to the broom, and that's just the difference. There's a little bit more movement to Vic Peters' delivery because he's got to get up on his toe. Russ comes out very small backswing and directly at the broom. But there's two contrasting styles.
It's normal.
Well, now Russ Howard wants to make sure he gets a nose hit here. He doesn't want to roll his shooter out because that would then give Vic Peters the opportunity to blank the end.
Russ yelled right away like he was inside the broom, but boy, he's throwing a little bit more weight and isn't going to hang around. Oh, here's a break for Manitoba. And really interesting. You heard Russ say sorry. You're right. You know, as soon as he let it go, he yelled.
Was I? Yeah. Looked like he flared his out. I just wanted to be firm.
That's what I meant. He was down. Eh?
Yeah, maybe he was.
You were up, and we don't need to jump it. You threw it perfect. Let's see, there's still too much weight to that. I've watched a couple of them in here. That spot doesn't really finish. Doesn't really crank in there.
Hey, boy, I tell you, they're alert, as is the Manitoba team. But a big break for Vic because he gets out of that unfortunate incident of the rock picking up something. He can blank and maybe do a little bit of gambling in the fourth end. Yeah. He certainly doesn't want to hit and stay here.
Oh, easy, clean.
He's got an easy blank because he's not much room to roll against the board.
And he'll make the shot. Rolling the shooter out of play. And despite losing Dan Carey's rock to a hair or a pebble, Vic Peters gets out of the end by blanking it with his final stone. And after three, the score holds. Ontario 2, Manitoba 1.
All right, I'm Brian Williams, the Sports Weekend Control in Toronto. Quick update, the University Hockey Championships underway. No score in the first period. The Acadia Axemen and the University of Alberta Golden Bears starting in about 15 minutes. The Islanders at Washington starting in 90 minutes from now. The Detroit Red Wings at Winnipeg. Jets lead the Calgary Flames by 4 points. First inning, the Atlanta Braves, top of the first, lead the Montreal Expos by a score of 1-0. And starting in about 15 minutes, the Guzmans, 1 for Toronto, Jose for the Texas Rangers, the Blue Jays, and the Texas Rangers. We'll keep you up to date as usual all during the afternoon. After this commercial, back for more live curling coverage from Regina.
You can make La Dry beer in the comfort of your own home. All you need is La Rare aromatic hops, La Choice Canadian barley, La Cold clear water, and a few other fine ingredients. You brew it longer than Labatt's regular beer for a clean, dry taste. Oh, that's right. You need La 15,000-gallon kettle. Nah, maybe you better let Labatt make La beer dry.
Take the Edge head-to-head challenge. Edge, the canola herbicide. Edge, the champion.
Without Sunday's Insight section, you won't see the big picture. Without Sunday's Life section, you may not make it through the day. Without Sunday's Show section, you might as well entertain yourself. Without the Sunday Journal, you could miss half the weekend. Sunday's Edmonton Journal, working for your weekend.
Until now, your emerging wheat or barley got a rough ride from in-crop wild oat and green foxtail herbicides. But unlike any post-emergent before, New Achieve single-handedly knocks out grass weeds without going against the grain. Achieve smokes wild oats when they're between 1 to 6 leaves, while all spring wheat, all barley develops safely. This season, choose New Achieve, the grass weed control that doesn't go against the grain.
Welcome back to the Agridome in Regina, where Ontario's Russ Howard leads Vic Peters of Manitoba 2-1, playing the fourth end. We're down to second stones on this fourth end, and Wayne Middaugh, who throws second stones for the Ontario squad, is attempting to draw the rings. And his stone will slide to the top of the 4-foot. Ontario lies 1. There really have not been many rocks in play on any end through the first 3 of this championship game.
Well, the only time there were rocks in play is when Russ Howard in the second end decided he was going to go after more than 1 point and started to freeze. Vic Peters has had this opportunity, but he's elected to run everything, Don, and I think maybe he's waiting for either a mistake by Ontario, slip it back behind the tee line to freeze to, or maybe stop short and then go around it. He is manipulating the rocks into the corner of the sheet, which he wants, on the right-hand side or the left-hand side. And if Howard maybe hits it on the nose, he may throw up a corner guard. That way you'd have a corner guard and one in the house he could come down to. So it's going to be kind of interesting to see what kind of a shot Vic Peters plays if Howard hits this one on the nose. Whether he throw up a guard or just keep on running them.
Ontario again lies 1. Well, twice in this game, as we look at the percentages of Wayne Middaugh as opposed to Chris Neufeld, Middaugh having a perfect game so far. Twice Dan Carey has lost stones, once to a hair and the other time to what they thought might have been a pebble. There were an unusually large number of rocks lost during round-robin competition. As a matter of fact, in one game, Russ Howard lost 5 stones, 2 of his own back-to-back, in losing to Ted McFadden of Prince Edward Island. Now, some of the players thought maybe tiny fibers from the blue carpet or dust falling from the Agridome roof caused the problems. Ice maker Marcel DeWitt said, well, the curlers are always wiping off their brushes on the ice, and they're putting the debris back onto the ice rather than going off into the corners to remove the debris.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the responsibilities of the front end, Don. You always have to make sure that the path that the rock is going to travel down is always kept clean. That's why they give you those brushes. I mean, if you're going to wait till the hog line then start brushing it, it's too late, and that's exactly what happened to Dan Carey.
Maybe there should be a sign at the end board, white brushes here.
Yeah.
Ontario lies 1. This end has been an exchange of stones. Glenn Howard removing the Manitoba rock. Manitoba retaining last rock advantage into end number 4 by blanking the third end.
Dan Carey really taking a good look at his turning rock to make sure there's nothing on the running surface of it.
Psychologically, it has to affect someone when they've lost 2 stones in the first 3 ends of the game.
Oh, no question about it. But as I said, it's the responsibility of the front end, and if I lost 2 rocks, I'd be really upset with the front end for not keeping the pass clean.
Whack. Hard. Clean. Whack. Right up.
Manitoba now lies 1. The name Carey is familiar in Manitoba curling circles. Dan's brother Bill skipped a provincial contending rink for a number of years, and Bill also played with Barry Fry in winning the Brier in 1979 in Ottawa.
It's really interesting. The Howard rink from Ontario plays the in-turn over on this side of the sheet, and the Manitoba team plays the out-turn. It's a preference of what the players like to throw. Obviously, Vic Peters likes playing the out-turn field a little bit more safe with it because it curls a bit. The in-turn runs very straight, in fact, falls away a bit. But the way Glenn Howard releases the rock, he's right on the broom 99% of the time.
Oh,
I just,
Dan Carey
overreacted to the way I let
losing
it go.
2 stones. His percentage, of course, has been reduced.
It's not bad having your third curl 50%, and you're only 1 down.
Yep.
Well, easy.
Oh, easy. Easy. Yep, clean. Hard. Yep.
Well, you know, that's good for Dan because he's made 2 in a row, and he feels very comfortable now. You see Russ just keeping his brush on that center line because that's where he's going to throw that rock. The rock belonging to Manitoba is right in the 4 foot on the center line.
See that out-turn so good, I saw.
This is maybe one of the classic curling deliveries of all time. Nice and square, beautiful extension. You very seldom see him roll a rock inside. Maybe put it out a bit, but never inside.
Russ Howard was sharp yesterday in disposing of Kevin Martin in the semifinal. He's at the top of his game again today in this championship battle with Vic Peters.
There you see the percentages. Vic Peters 75, Russ Howard 83. That's quite a bit of difference. And but Vic Peters playing it wide open, Don, and I would think somewhere along the line that he would start gambling.
Yeah, a little off.
Peters is going to have to start going after it because, you know, Howard's not going to miss the wide open hits. He's got to get his corner guards up no matter where Ontario puts their first rock, even if it is above the tee line.
I think that's correct. I think if Vic scores one here, and he's going to start putting them out in front and saying, well, I'm going to gamble even though I don't have last rock.
It's a nervous time for the wives and family of the competing curlers.
See that rock just off the center line. The nice thing for Howard is the fact that he threw exactly the same rock the first time, so he knows the weight, knows the ice. There should be no problem unless he really throws it bad. And I don't expect that at all.
No.
All good? Yeah, good. Well, the movement of our track cameras with Neil Cochran handling the camera, drawing reaction from the fans. They've had more to cheer about watching the track camera today than they have had in watching some of the curling action. It's been pretty much an exchange of shots. I guess they keep wondering whether that camera is going to come to a stop as it works its way down the ice.
Well, they're cheering it like they would cheer sweeping, you know, hurry, hurry, and whoa, whoa. So.
And Vic Peters with his shooter is going to roll out of play. So Vic Peters, this last rock, blanks end number 4, the second straight end that he has deliberately blanked. The score holds Ontario 2, Manitoba 1 through 4.
Today, Pepsi announced a new slogan. Mere words? Or is the taste of Pepsi so big, America's really got to have it?
Gotta have it. It's something I felt for years, but never had the words to express.
If it's so popular, how come everybody's drinking it?
Henry's only regret is that he started drinking Pepsi this late in life.
The phrase, gotta have it, strikes a chord deep in the human psyche.
Now that everybody's gotta have it, Pepsi's not gonna need celebrity endorsers anymore.
And that's what I've been saying all along.
On June 23,
23rd, 1991, Mazda defeated Jaguar, Porsche, and Mercedes to win the world's most prestigious 24-hour endurance race, Le Mans. But Le Mans wasn't won in a day. It took years of tireless research, innovation, and commitment. It's the way we build racing cars, but more importantly, it's the way we build every Mazda.
Very cool. It's party time. Check the time, man. Look, you get the blue, and I'll get the bodies. This is serious, man. How'd you do it? Just put the word out.
Labatt's Blue. Now you're laughing.
Did you know that rice has complex carbohydrates?
I knew that. I knew that.
And did you know that rice is part of a wholesome diet?
I knew that. I knew that.
This is Kellogg's Rice Krispies. Most people don't know that each Rice Krispie is made with a real grain of rice.
Yeah, I knew that. I didn't know that. I mean, I didn't know that. Most people didn't know that.
For everyone who didn't know that Kellogg's Rice Krispies is made with real rice, we have one question. What the heck did you think it was made with?
I don't know.
Well, there have been 2 blank ends in this Labatt-Brier final. In case you're wondering, the most blank ends ever in a game of curling at the Brier, 1990 in Sault Ste. Marie. Jim Sullivan defeating Ted McFadden by a score of 2-1. There were 8 blank ends in that game.
Well, it's going to change right here because Vic Peters has decided there's a rock in the house belonging to Ontario, and Vic Peters is going to throw up a corner guard. So he's committed himself maybe to scoring more than 1 point here. And if he gets a nose hit, or if Howard decides to guard that one, he's going to start going after some points.
Well, Vic Peters with his lead's first rock tried just a gentle bump back of the Ontario rock that was in the house, and he wound up taking it out totally. So now he's going with the corner guard route.
And, of course, Russ Howard doesn't want any red-handled Manitoba stones hanging around out front.
You know, this ice is so nice that you do not have to throw big weight to hit and roll off.
Middag gets the hit and the roll, but it will remain in play going to the other side of the center line.
Well, now, here's an opportunity for Vic Peters, Don. He can either go around that corner guard or maybe freeze to that one in the top of the 8-foot there. If he freezes to it and Howard makes it a pass at it, they may run all of them off, and then he'll go around the corner guard. Vic Peters has decided to go in around the corner guard first. It'll be very difficult for him to get shot rock out of this. It has to be almost perfect. And even then, if he gets in directly behind the corner guard, he will not be shot rock.
There have been changes on the Peters rink over the years, but Chris Neufeld at second stone has spent 13 years curling with Vic Peters, 6 in a row.
He's a dynamite player. He can make them all when he wants to. When he gets going, there's nobody better. And they are brushing this hard. Is it going to get by? No, he's pulling on the corner. Not a bad shot, though. Better there than through the house, I'll tell you.
Well, Ontario's strategy in this scenario yesterday was to guard the rock in the 8-foot and ignore the corner guard. So it'll be interesting to see if he stays with that strategy again today.
Well, I think when you're one up, I might have a tendency to guard this one. But tight, not way out.
You hate those long guards.
I really do, because I'll tell you what, there's lots of room to go around him and still hit the rock on the nose. And that's why you've got to play guards very tight to the rings. Not, you know, a foot in front, but about 2.5 feet in front is perfect. Makes running them back more difficult, coming around them more difficult. But when they're long guards, you can get around them by a good foot and still make contact. You've got a lot of weight here is right. That may be a little bit too tight because there's room here for Manitoba to run them straight back down and make the double, and the corner guards will still be up. So that may be a little bit too tight. Maybe about another foot closer to the hog line as opposed to the rings would be a better guard.
So the sheet is a little bit. That's right.
And there may be an opportunity here for Manitoba. If he hits it on the right-hand side,
Everything inside the 40.
To make the double and a shooter come over on the right-hand side and just touch one of those rocks on the right-hand side and into the rings. We'll just see how good he hits this one.
Hey, Dan.
Chris Neufeld, the Manitoba second, watching this stone as it makes its way down the ice.
Well, he hit it just a little bit too thick. He had to hit it a little bit thinner, Don, to come off the one on the right-hand side. Of course, he hits it a little bit thicker, he makes the double. But he's betwixt between there.
I like that, Dan. Look at the bump.
Yeah, I think so. Are you wide, Wayne?
Here's Glenn Howard saying to Wayne, were you wide? Because there was a little bit of room to come around that one, so they just want to make sure that Wayne was on the broom and that the ice in that particular area didn't do something funny.
Can you tell as you release the stone whether or not you've got too much weight?
Yes, normally you can. Just the way you drive out and the way you release it. Of course, if you drive a little bit stronger than you want to be, you kind of hang on to the rock a little bit longer.
So does Vic Peters attempt the same thing?
I think he has to. You know, there's an opportunity to hit this one. It's wide open and roll to the left-hand side.
3/4? 3/4. Or more.
Problem is what we got to watch is if we kick, we rub them in, eh?
Exactly right, C-Don. That's why it's a dangerous shot.
Hit it.
Because if he does come out and just touch that one, he'll put the other one in front of the rings belonging to Ontario. I might run this one.
Just bumper. Bumper in turn? Hit flop?
Okay.
And the reason I like it, Don, because if you do make the double, you got two rocks fairly close to the rings. You can always bump up. You'd have three there, and you could drive them back and get lots of protection behind the corner guards.
Better watch the front, eh? We rub them in, maybe. Yeah.
There you see.
Well, we don't want to play tight anyway. We want to roll.
Lots of room.
Go as far over as we can. Or we got a 8-footer if we can. It's right on the line, too. So
You guys like this?
Wow.
He's just saying to himself that Vic is really having second thoughts, and I really like the run back as opposed to this shot here.
Yeah.
Because let me tell you, if you hit and roll out down, it leaves the opportunity for Ontario to draw around and really put it dead in behind that guard belonging to them.
Lots of weight. Yep.
And the sweepers, the front end of Don Rudd and Chris Neufeld, jumped on this one immediately, and they stay with it all the way down the ice, and he just ticked that stone out front, and that's what he was concerned about. But fortunately for Manitoba, he did not roll that one into the rings.
Oh, that was very close to a perfect shot. And he got a little bit of a break by not putting that Ontario rock in, Don, and that's why I didn't like that shot. I would have liked to have run it. Because now he's got major problems, because if Howard comes down...
I guess we have to, Russ. I'm waiting. This is going to move one of these times.
He's going to play the guard again.
Same shot.
Manitoba may not see this rock at all.
The other thing is he can't angle here now. I didn't mind that if I ever hit the wall.
You know, it's interesting. Glenn Howard, each time he comes down the ice, tells the front end, Peter Corner and Wayne Middaugh, exactly what they're trying to do so that they are fully aware of what their job will be as the rock makes its way down the ice.
Oh, exactly. And that's why he tells them. They know generally where they want it. They just want to know how tight to the rings they want it, where they want it on the center line or to the right of the center line. And Glenn is just assuring them exactly where he wants this rock put. Because once he lets it go, it's the responsibility of the sweepers to get it in that area.
Communication's always the key to any good team, to let them know the weight and where they want it to wind up. And
well, you see Corner raised his broom, saying that he's pretty strong. Now they got to sweep it. And well, what they're sweeping it for, Don, they want to come off that other yellow one and hope to get a roll in front of the shot rock. Look at that rock back up. Oh, that rock really acted funny. It really did. To me, it looked like there was something under it. It was going sideways.
Oh, I thought he hit a little wide.
A little bit.
Worried all day. Just this way, Donnie. Let's play hack. Yeah.
You hear Vic Peters saying, just hack. Okay, now what Manitoba wants to do, they want to come down and hit this one, but they want to make sure they roll over to this area. If they roll over to here, Don, Howard still got the chance to run this one back onto it. That's why they want to roll over in this area over here.
Yeah.
It's no good rolling behind the Ontario Rock because there's a double angle race for him. He wants to get good separation. And you hear Dan Carey saying to Chris Newfield and Don, run a little less weight.
Back weight, guys.
There's enough room if you can just get by the guard to roll to the right-hand side.
Lots of weight. Lots of weight. Lots, bumper.
You didn't say it's bumper. They might as well roll it to the right-hand side as opposed to the left-hand side.
They don't get any roll at all. Manitoba has shot stone, but it is open sitting in the 12th foot. Bumper.
The difference in making that roll and hitting it on the nose was the weight. And Dan Carey knows it. He was a little bit stronger than they wanted him to be.
Okay. This way? Hard nose. Okay. Taking a good motion.
It's been a big year for Russ Howard and his Ontario rink. Over $100,000 in winnings on the Castfield circuit. Coming into the Brier with a record of 51-4.
Yeah.
They've won 9 games and lost 3. They had an 8-3 round robin record. And they won the semifinal yesterday.
Well, they've been the best team in the country all year, but of course they traded all for a win today.
And Russ is going to take the play over to the other side of the ring.
Well, that's a good shot. That's exactly what he wanted. Take away the play from the corner guard. But Manitoba, if they want to do a little bit of gambling here, Don, they could go around those corner guards. The danger is there's 2 lined up on the right-hand side belonging to Russ Howard.
Even the nose is good, Dan.
And that's why he's not going to go over there.
You know, we talked about the fact yesterday that Russ Howard is a golf pro.
I don't like the draw because they're an inch off the ring.
Brooklyn Golf Club.
I mean, we shave it and pick them. He's drawing a live speed, right?
Vic Peters is a golf course superintendent at Larters, just outside of Winnipeg. And he's not a bad golfer himself. As a matter of fact, he established the amateur course record at the Rossmere Golf and Country Club in Winnipeg back in 1982, shooting a 64. The course record is a 61. Dave Barr is the man who established that course record a few years back and winning the Manitoba Open Golf Championship.
Not bad company.
You might have to spot him a stroke or two.
Oh, he's got some good movement on this one. Oh, just dug it at the end. A good attempt. And that's a long way to roll, but a great attempt by Vic Peters.
The 5th end of this Labatt Brier final with Ontario leading Manitoba 2-1.
Great try, Vic. Jeez. That ever snap at the end? Oh.
Yeah. Glenn saying to Vic, boy, did that ever snap at the end. And earlier on in the 3rd end, Glenn Howard said it doesn't move over there when Russ played an out-turn hit. So now it's starting to change a bit. It's starting to move in areas to the side. Here, looks like it could be an inside roll.
He gets it.
Beautiful shot. Good judging by Glenn Howard. Great throw by Russ Howard.
Nice sweep, guys.
And a great job of sweeping.
As a team, Ontario is curling 91%.
Good call. Definitely tighter. Definitely tighter.
The difficulty for Vic Peters here is he has not thrown that many draws, Don.
Couldn't have bitten him. He couldn't bite anymore.
And he has to be almost 3/4 in the 4-foot.
Gotta hit full 4. 4, guys. So it's like the last game against Martin, eh? A little less, Dan.
Edge of the forefoot. The rock will do all its curling at the end. Just a question of how he lets it go.
We checked with the sweepers, too, just confirming the draw weight was about the same as their last game in the round robin when they played Kevin Martin.
He has to be full 4.
Well, now it's starting to come over to the one. He's got lots of weight. He's got a great-looking shot. Beautiful shot. What a great touch.
He just taps back the Ontario stone. The shooter settles down in the forefoot, and Manitoba, with last rock, picks up a single point on end 5. So with 5 ends remaining in this Labatt-Brier final, Manitoba and Ontario are deadlocked at 2 apiece. Manitoba finishing atop the round-robin standings, getting the bye into this championship game. Ontario defeating defending champion Kevin Martin of Alberta in the semifinal yesterday, 7-4, to gain a berth in this championship game. And right now, let's join Colleen Jones.
Thanks, Don. Russ Howard, Vic Peters with a big draw there, and he hadn't thrown many draws this game.
I think it was his only draw, Colleen, and you know, the final of the Brier isn't going to draw for an hour and a half. We felt fairly confident, but Vic's done that all week, so it's not a surprise.
All right, now you were playing it fairly conservatively, putting the raw, you know, you went after your deuce in the second end, but then after that putting your first rock in the forefoot up. But I suppose now that you've got the hammer back, all that will change.
All we were hoping to do is force Vic to 1, and I rolled out in the one end. I overswept a rock, but we got it there at least, so it's 5 in game. We have hammer. We can't ask for much more than that.
So what will you do next end? Are you going for corners if he puts one in the forefoot, or what?
Yeah, we'll probably throw corners. Well, if he's in the forefoot, we might hit it, but if he's somewhere else, we might try to get the 2 and make it a little more comfortable.
All right, Russ Howard tied at 2. Good luck the rest of the way.
Thank you.
All right, back to you, Don.
The Russ Howard rink curling very well. Russ Howard himself at 88%. The team at 91%. Manitoba at 79%. But the 2 rinks, despite the difference in percentages, are deadlocked at 2. We'll have more Brier coverage after this.
People who want a roll of bathroom tissue to last longer, there's new Purex Jumbo. With 50% more billowy soft sheets on every roll, it takes forever to run out.
Whoa. Natural. Honest. Soothing, luxurious, a wholesome line of hair and skincare products. Rialto Natural, natural beauty that won't cost the earth. Exclusively at Shoppers Drug Mart.
For spring wheat, only one product does it all. Triumph Plus. In one pass, it controls wild oats and green foxtail with the widest window of application, from the 1 to 6 leaf stage, up to emergence of the 3rd tiller, plus over 30 broadleaf weeds. Ask your neighbors who've used it. The results have been overwhelming. Triumph Plus from Hearst.
Wow.
Only the lonely know the heartaches I've been through.
To the dismay of certain individuals, more people are spending less time at home.
There goes my baby, there goes my heart.
Because by having Boost between meals or sometimes as a meal, they're getting many of the nutrients they need to help them keep active.
Only
Sorry, pal.
Another penalty. Come on.
Pro sports. There's a lot on the line.
Come on, guys. Back check. Don't give up the blue line.
Some people have to be into the game.
Back check.
It's in their blood.
Nice short-handed goals, guys. We're only down 3-1. 10 minutes left in the game. Let's go, guys. Now, let's go. Now, that's hockey.
Others do it just for fun. Over, under, and Pro Line. 2 great games from Sports Select.
When you play Sports Select, you really get into the game.
Welcome back to the Agridome in Regina, the site of the 1992 Labatt Brier. Each member of the winning rink will receive a replica of the Labatt Brier tanker. Russ Howard already has one. Vic Peters is trying for his first. He's standing by with Colleen.
Thanks, Don. Vic Peters, great draw there in the fifth end, your first of the game.
Thanks, Colleen. Yeah, well, you don't like to have to throw one under those circumstances, but we're fortunate to make it.
And you were commenting to your front end prior to throwing it, same as against Martin, and was it running about the same? Did it feel about the same?
It's quick. It's been like, the nice thing about this ice has been that way all week, so you don't have to dig back that far. It's real great ice.
Now, third and fourth ends, we played fairly openly. In the fifth end, you started going after him a little bit.
Well, we were unfortunate. The first three ends, we had 3 hairs, so I was just trying to settle the boys in a little before we went at something because, you know, it's fortunate that we had the hammer when we were hitting those hairs because we could have been down a pile.
No kidding. 3 hairs, I mean, that's fairly unusual in a game.
We've had one all spiel to this point, so the boys were getting kind of antsy, so I figured I'd just keep it clean and you know, wait till the boys got settled in a little, and I think they're ready to go now.
Now, tied at 2 without the hammer, you said that means Russ Howard has control of this game. How are you going to get it back?
We're going to have to mix it up. I mean, he's probably going to be willing to go, so it should be interesting from now on in.
All right, so you'll be putting up center guards and going around?
That's right.
Lots of rocks in play.
Probably.
All right, good luck the rest of the way, Vic.
Thanks, Colleen.
Vic Peters, skip in Manitoba, tied at 2 after 5 ends of play, Don.
When you talk about rocks in play during round-robin competition in the battle between Alberta and Manitoba, on one end, there were 15 of a possible 16 rocks in play.
BB?
I was
Vic
really
Peters.
interested in his comments about catching 3 hairs, and his team was a little bit upset, and he tried to settle them down, and I guess that's why he played very, very conservative.
Well, the reason I wasn't opening it up is because we were losing rocks all over the place. Yeah. Well, you know, we had to get settled in. Well, I'm not worried with fans anyway. Oh, I don't care. She's asked me what are they thinking. I said, I'm not thinking that. I'm trying to get settled down because we've had 3 hairs in this game. We never had one. We had one the whole Bosco. Yeah. I said, now we're ready to go. I mean, we were trying to get 2 there, and we didn't. But we got.
You didn't want to play that race? Didn't like it, eh?
Well, I liked it, but it's, you know, Dan didn't like it that much.
I didn't like it on my first shot.
What's that? We had a good shot going on his Danny second. A little less weight, we got a perfect shot. Yeah. And even my last, we make the roll, we get 2. Yeah.
Either his or
John Loxton, the 5th man, discussing strategy with Vic Peters and his Manitoba champions. We are 5 ends away from declaring the 1992 champion. We'll be back to the Agridome after this.
All right, Don, I'm Brian Williams at Sports Weekend Control in Toronto. It's a busy afternoon. The University Hockey Championships at Varsity Arena in Toronto at the end of the first period. The Alberta Golden Bears are out in front of the Acadia Axemen by a score of 1-0. Garth Premack for the Golden Bears, assisted by Yaremchuk and Pierce. In the NHL, there's no score in the first period between the New York Islanders and the Capitals at Landover, Maryland. Islanders start the day 4 points behind Pittsburgh, defeated in Toronto last night. In about an hour and 10 minutes from now, the Detroit Red Wings take on the Jets at the arena in Winnipeg. Winnipeg leading the Calgary Flames by 4 points in the Smythe Division. Exhibition baseball in the second inning, a 1-1 tie between the Montreal Expos and the Atlanta Braves. And just underway, it's the Toronto Blue Jays and the Texas Rangers. Juan Guzman for the Jays and Jose Guzman for the Texas Rangers. In golf news, after 3 rounds in the PGA, Fred Couples is the leader in the Honda Classic down at Fort Lauderdale by 1 over Mark Brooks. Top Canadian is Richard Zokel at 8 under par, 6 shots off the lead. The Ping LPGA Tour in Tucson, Arizona, Beth Daniel the leader after 3 rounds at 11 under. The top Canadian is Gail Graham at 3 under. Lisa Walters from Prince George, British Columbia, is 2 under par. Men's Super G today in Aspen, Colorado. It was Shuttle Andrea Mote from Norway the winner. Gunther Mader, the Austrian second. Paul Akela from Switzerland was third. Another tough day for the Canadian men's ski team. The top Canadian finishing in the number 30 position was Roman Torn. We should point out that World Cup downhill champion Franz Heinzer injured a leg in that race. Later today on Sports Weekend, in about 2 hours from now, we'll have the Women's Super G featuring Karen Lee Gertner from the Panorama Resort near Invermere, British Columbia. That brings you up to date on this Sunday afternoon, still Sunday morning in the West. Stay with us, a commercial break, and we'll continue with live coverage on Sports Weekend, the 1992 Men's Brier Final.
Labatt's Light takes a refreshing look at musical chairs. Ideally, it's best to play with one chair. Then there's the taste of a Labatt's Light right out of the ice. Now that's refreshing. Labatt's Light takes a refreshing look at the beach movie. Nah, this isn't a beach movie. It appears to be Singing in the Rain. Then there's the taste of a Labatt's Light right out of the ice. Now that's refreshing.
If chewing gum sticks to your dental work, you'd be in trouble if you tried this with most ordinary gum.
Rubber baby buggy bumpers. She sells seashells by the seashore. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Now, if Peter Piper, the pickled pepper picker, picked a peck of pickled peppers, where is the peck of pickled peppers that Peter Piper, the pickled pepper picker, picked?
Regular or sugar-free. Freedent's the one that tastes great and won't stick. Won't stick.
When your mouth says yes, but your stomach says no. Rolaids. Fast-acting, effective relief. For acid indigestion or heartburn, Rolaids is relief.
You're Stonehenge. Pure genius. Those Earthlings, they still haven't figured it out. Yeah, probably never will. I'll tell you something, though. Your pyramids, a classic. But the best, sir, the best is how you get that soft flowing caramel into the caramel bar. Wait a minute, that wasn't me. I thought you did that. It wasn't me. If you didn't do it and I didn't do it, who was
For spring wheat, only one product does it all. Triumph Plus. In one pass, it controls wild oats and green foxtail with the widest window of application, from the 1 to 6 leaf stage, up to emergence of the 3rd tiller, plus over 30 broadleaf weeds. Ask your neighbors who've used it. The results have been overwhelming. Triumph Plus from Hearst. Wow.
There are probably few areas in the country where curling is a more popular sport than in southern Saskatchewan. This is the 3rd time that the Brier has been held in Regina, and Vic Peters of Manitoba and Russ Howard of Ontario are deadlocked at 2 as they battle for the Labatt Brier tankard as we have cleaned the ice and prepare to start end number 6 here at the Agridome in Regina. Vic Peters started the game with last rock advantage, with the score now tied at 2. 5 ends remaining. Russ Howard on end 6 will have control of the game.
Well, I think he has control of the game, and wherever Vic Peters puts his rock, he has to be very careful, because I think Russ Howard will go after him now. He's got control. He's playing the 6th end, so he has last rock, and I think he'll go for more than 1 point here. So this could prove to be a very pivotal end, and also a very crucial call for Vic Peters right off the start.
But it was interesting to listen to Vic Peters' comments during the 5th end interviews when he said, you know, we lost a couple of rocks to hares and I had to settle the guys down, and, you know, that's really why he played it so open in the 3rd and 4th ends. And it's a good point sometimes, because when you lose 3 rocks to hares, it can affect you psychologically, and you can get a little mad, and then you're not going to make the finesse shot.
Don Rudd, the lead for Manitoba, the oldest of the 8 competing curlers, at 41, places his stone just at the top of the rings. And now the youngest of the competitors, 23-year-old Peter Corner, will attempt to remove it.
Yep, hard. Break. Yep. Yep, hard.
It's a great roll to the corner by Ontario.
Well, that's where he wants to play. And that's where Russ Howard wants to play, Don. He wants to play in the corner so that if everything doesn't work out, he'll have the whole house to draw to. But these 2 teams play so well, as did Martin of Alberta, that no matter where they are on the rink, no matter who has last rock, they try all kinds of unorthodox things to score more than 1 point.
Vic could have ignored that and put up his center guard, but at this stage of the game, you're almost worried to give up a deuce, because then you know it's game over.
Don Rudd, the lead, a customer service supervisor with Manitoba Hydro, and the Peters Rink received a large banner from the staff providing support when Brier competition got underway a week ago today.
All right.
I thought maybe Russ might have gone around this one. He has last rock. The rock was off the center line, and he elected to hit it. So this is not a traditional call by Russ Howard. I guess he feels that he has last rock, and he may try to run it through to the 10th end, but...
You're right, it was a surprising call for Russ Howard. I mean, come around is their strength, and that was a corner guard, albeit a tight one, and usually he'll bring one right in around there tight.
Now Vic Peters has decided he's going to place it out in front, no longer in the rings. And then it'll be decision time for Russ Howard, whether he goes around the one on the corner or the one around in the center, or maybe hit it. So it'll be very interesting to see his next call.
Yeah.
If he decides to go around it, you know that he's really going to gamble.
Sorry, Danny. Yeah.
No. He's going to hit it. So now Russ Howard has gone a little bit conservative on us here.
He's asking Wayne Middaugh to go after that Manitoba rock. You'll notice that Wayne Middaugh does not lift the stone on his backswing. That was because of a back injury that he suffered earlier in the year.
He's been spending a lot of time in the hot tub lately, too, in order to keep his back under control, and hasn't been acting up on him too badly here, though.
You know, it's interesting. If the Ontario rink does win the Brier and go on to the World Championships, some of the medication that Middaugh has been taking for his back problem is a banned substance under the IOC regulations, and they have random drug testing at the World Curling Championships.
Now you'll see Russ Howard go around that guard.
Is there anything to go around?
Oh, there's lots of room. Yeah, you watch him. He'll almost put it against the boards and hope to catch just a piece of the 12-foot.
That's been the great thing about this ice this week. It curls very nicely out to the wings.
Now, in the very first stand, we gave you rock time, and it was 22.5 seconds to the front of the house, playing the very first stand. We're now going to go from the inside to the outside of the sheet, and we'll see what kind of rock time we've got in this area. He hasn't laid too much brush to it. He's well by the guard. Now they're going to bring it. So there you are, 24 seconds. So it's almost the same in this particular spot as it is down the center, and that's how nice the ice is.
Ontario lies one with a fine draw by Wayne Middaugh.
We figured they were going in. That's why we hit that.
And that's exactly right. That's exactly what happened, Dan. You hit it, but unfortunately you hit and stayed. And Russ Howard went right around it. I might have ignored that one and played another one on the center line, tight to the rings.
What you see? A little more. Yeah, a little off.
You see the rock that Dan Carey's looking at, and the rock will move at the very, very end. So weight is so critical here for Dan Carey. He cannot afford to overthrow this one.
Fine shot by Carey.
Oh, that's a great shot. Let me tell you, anytime you go down there and you can only see half a rocket and almost against the boards, that's a tough curling shot. And he hit exactly what he can see and rolled right to the 4-foot. So this end, Vic Peterson's hoping that they just exchange rocks, and maybe Russ Howard will hit one on the nose and be forced to take one when he has last rock.
Glenn Howard, that third stone for Ontario, 6 years younger than his brother Russ, who skips the rink. Ontario again lies one. Last rock advantage on this 6th end with the score tied at 2 belongs to Ontario.
little off. That was good weight last time.
It's going to be a break that decides this game. Either a exceptional roll somewhere to an area or a miss. It certainly won't be on a strategy call, but it'll either be a bad break for somebody.
Yep, no, right off.
Or an out-and-out miss.
So long as it's not on a horsehair or a hog line.
Oh, that wouldn't be fair at all. Well, you had to hit and stay there, and what really surprised me is they played the out-turn. Of course, Howard just played the out-turn there, ran very, very straight. Dan must have got it out a bit.
Yeah.
Because
That's good weight.
His weight was perfect, just ran awful straight. Now it allows the opportunity for Glenn Howard to put this rock in really tight behind that corner guard.
Russ is narrowing up his ice a little bit compared to what he gave second stone Wayne Middaugh, so...
He went by the guard by a good foot and ended up 3/4 buried. So if he get by the guard by about 6 inches, he'll be completely buried.
Just there. All right, no. Oh, right on. Tight around.
You're saying a lot of room.
All right, yep. Hurry.
Glenn Howard pulls that stone into the 12-foot at the tee line. Ontario lies one. During a week of round-robin play, Glenn Howard was the leading third at 84%, and he was named to the All-Star team. Vic Peters was the All-Star skip. Wayne Middaugh of Ontario, the All-Star second, and Don Bartlett of Alberta, who curled an amazing 91%, was the All-Star lead.
Well, this rock is partially open, Don, and I just heard Vic Peters say, good bumper, you guys. That's a lot of weight to be throwing it in that area. I mean, he can only see about a quarter of a rock.
How did that look?
Good-looking shot here again. That's a beautiful shot. And he hung around in the back of the 12-foot. That's a great touch. I'm telling you, nobody can teach you that shot. You have to practice that.
No,
because the big thing was weight.
Well, both rinks were on the ice yesterday after Ontario disposed of Alberta in the semifinal. Vic Peters and his mates were on the ice for about an hour throwing practice stones.
Well, you got to do it.
The critical part here, Don.
I've never seen one yet where we've overswept it and then still by the high side. No, that's true.
Yeah, you're right about that, Vic. Now, the key for Howard here is he has to hang around in the rings. He cannot afford to roll out, because if he rolls out, Vic Peters will put one around that corner guard. Right on the money. As they say, right in the mayor's office. Great shot.
Well, it's tough to get the best of your opponent when the skip is curling 90%, as Russ Howard is.
Well, it's difficult. Granted, there haven't been too many difficult shots, but, I mean, that's consistency.
Very good. Yeah, it's good to pick it up. Yeah, had to hang around.
Yeah, I know.
See his go, eh?
You've got it back out, eh?
Yeah.
It's in tighter, yeah.
His body goes right, eh?
Yeah.
You see what they watch for? He said he put it out a bit. He threw a lot of weight. And Russ Howard says, well, his body goes out, so it's very deceiving the way he releases the rock. So when you're watching the other team, as well as your own team throw.
Body may go out, but the stone is right on target. Manitoba lies one, and now Russ Howard with last rock on this sixth end would like to hit and roll out, thereby blanking the end and retaining last rock advantage into end 7. The score is tied at 2.
Now, do you think Russ Howard liked the free guard zone on this game?
A little more.
Not too many rocks in play. Free guard zone, of course. You cannot remove any rocks up until the second man starts shooting. That'll take place in the World Championship this year.
Well, curlers don't always react kindly to change. I know when the playoff format was introduced at the Labatt Brier in 1980, some objected to it, saying that the round robin thereby had no impact. Well, since 1980 and the playoff system came into being, the first place finisher in round robin play has won 9 of the 12 Labatt Briers that have played. It's 2-2 after 6.
You can make La Dry beer in the comfort of your own home. All you need is La Rare aromatic hops, La Choice Canadian barley, La Cold clear water, and a few other fine ingredients. You brew it longer than Labatt's regular beer for a clean, dry taste. Oh, that's right. You need La 15,000-gallon kettle. Nah, maybe you better let Labatt make La beer dry.
With sweeping lines that soothe the senses, dual airbags that make more than sense, and innovations like using the sun to cool the interior. What else could we have called this car? The new 929 Surrender from Mazda.
If chewing gum sticks to your dental work, you'd be in trouble if you tried this with most ordinary gum.
Rubber baby buggy bumpers. She sells seashells by the seashore. Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers. Now, if Peter Piper, the pickled pepper picker, picked a peck of pickled peppers, where is the peck of pickled peppers that Peter Piper, the pickled pepper picker, picked?
Regular or sugar-free. Friedent's the one that tastes great and won't stick. Won't stick.
It's out there. The sinus cold. Once it breaks in, you feel like it's locked itself inside your sinuses. You sneeze without loosening it, blow your nose without draining it. You feel pain and pressure in your sinus cavities. So try Dristan tablets. Dristan's special penetrating action reaches all 8 sinus cavities to help clear the congestion, pressure, and pain out of your sinuses so you feel better. Dristan tablets help clear the cold misery that's locked in your sinuses.
We're in the 7th end of the Labatt Brier here at the Agridome in Regina with Manitoba and Ontario deadlocked at 2. And still to come on CBC Sports Weekend, the Super G, the Women's World Cup. Karen Lee Gartner, Canada's Olympic gold medalist, competing at Panorama. Scott Oak and Curry Chapman will have a description of that Women's Super G for you later this afternoon on CBC Sports Weekend.
And Vic Peters, the very opening rock of this end, Don, has decided that he's going to try and steal a point here in the 7th end. He's put a rock out in front, and Russ Howard ran it off. He put another one out in front, Howard ran it off again. And Vic Peters is going to continue with this. He needs to get something started. It appears to me that Russ Howard feels that he has the advantage of last rock, and he could carry it right through to the 10th end and use it to win this game. Of course, Vic Peters has other ideas. He's hoping for a half shot somewhere for something to hide behind.
Well, patience has won an awful lot of curling games, and it looks like Russ Howard is willing to just sit it out for a while and just keep waiting until the right opportunity presents itself. That one's a little bit farther off the center line, so he's able to come in and around.
What did I tell you about long guards? And that's one of the reasons when they're just over the hog line or a foot and a half over the hog line, good teams will go around them because the margin of error really is reduced because you can go, if they make a good shot and hit it on the nose, you've got lots of room to come around them and make contact with the rock.
Wayne Middaugh, the Ontario second, curling 88%, trying to go around that long guard.
Well, he's certainly behind the guard by about a foot and a half. But watch this rock. Should move very nicely at the end. Should finish good. And it did. But fairly wide open. I mean, you can have the shooter come down on that center line and going by that guard and hit that rock almost on the inside with a nice quiet weight.
The advantage that Wayne Middaugh holds over his Manitoba counterpart, Chris Neufeld.
That's not bad. Is it partly buried? It's a good shot. Okay?
You see Vic Peters indicate palm down, meaning keep your weight down. Just don't overthrow it. That's the danger in this ice. If you overthrow the rock, you could have all kinds of problems with the rock curling.
Ball. Go to work.
That's a good shot. You can't roll in behind the guard behind perfect cover. Take the play away from the guard and get over to the other side of the sheet. And that's exactly what Neufeld did. Good hit and roll. Now Madaw, of course, is going to try and hit this one and roll behind the guard again, Don. So this could be a very interesting end. It'll just show you how precise these curlers are at their shot making.
Ontario lies 1, 2 rocks in play, both belonging to Ontario. Wayne Nidda removing the Manitoba stone in the rings.
To get movement on the rocks in order to get the roll, you really have to be throwing about board weight, regular takeout weight. Just keeps it straight there.
Yeah, especially on the outturn side, yeah.
That's right.
But the outside in, boy, on that particular shot that they're going after now, it runs very, very straight. You'll see Vic Peters holding the brush right in the center of the rock.
Dan Carey, after losing a couple of rocks in the first 3 ends, has improved his percentage. He's at now 65%.
Right on.
And they're trying to sweep it, maybe roll it further over in the corner on the right-hand side because he's not going to go around the corner guard. The reason they're doing that, Don, is because now if Ontario hits and rolls out, they will go around the center guard. But then again, Russ Howard may try and beat him to it and go around the center guard. Means your third man's first rock, you may be tempted, but obviously Russ Howard has decided he's going to play it fairly simple.
That's right.
The big thing for Glenn Howard is he wants to make sure he wants to hit and stay. You heard Glenn say to his front end, don't jump it, means don't, as soon as I let it go, don't start sweeping it because it runs fairly straight there. If you sweep it, it'll liable to float on us.
Yeah, the sweeping actually seems to back it up quite a bit.
That's a nice touch.
An inside roll.
And doesn't get buried, but great movement on the rock. He had to hit it a little bit thinner. He would have been right behind the guard. Beautiful shot by Glenn Howard.
Glenn Howard at 85%.
I'm down from your normal thing.
Uh-oh. Yeah. And at 85%, he is the low man in percentages on the Ontario rink.
Oh, boy. That's excellent curling. You know, these curlers have such a great touch. You know, Don, especially when you're looking, by the time you release the rock at the hog line, it's 93 feet down to the other tee line. And to manipulate the rocks from one side of the sheet to the other shows you just how great these curlers are.
Gonna have a nice roll.
Yes, they do get a bit of a roll.
Needed a little bit more, but what a nice touch by Dan Carey. He moves the rock in behind the guard.
Here, watch, guys.
And the danger is that rock is behind the tee line, and Glenn may come right on top of it.
That must mean cemented together.
Good shot.
That's what they're playing. Out turn, come down on top of it. Now we just watch here where the brush is being held. It's at 6 inches up on the outside of the 4-foot circle. Now, if Manitoba has to duplicate this shot, Glenn gets it in there good, we'll see where Vic Peters puts the broom. Oh, he's got lots of room, but is he there? Boy, are they brushing this one. Corner and Madaw just working really hard.
Oh. To the top of the 12, but now there are 2 stones protecting that shot rock.
Okay.
Glenn had pretty good line on that, just pulled the string a little bit.
That's very unusual, but a good opportunity here for Manitoba and Vic Peters.
Halfway. Halfway.
Half covering distance.
Half on the outside would be perfect. I mean, you might be able to come in there with the in-turn then, mind you. Yeah, crossing it a little. Yeah.
Okay, for Vic Peters, Don, what he wants to do is cover the rock right there. He doesn't want it in too deep, like that. He wants it back a little bit more about in this area here to completely cover off that 4 foot, and especially that rock belonging to Ontario.
Is the objective here to prevent any raise by Ontario on their own rock at the top of the 12? The objective to prevent any raise by Ontario?
That's right. I mean, that rock is just biting, and it's second shot done, so you want to cover it because he can drive it on an angle onto that one in the 4-footer, hit it on the inside and be lying second and third shot. You don't want that to happen. You want to take it away. Now, there's a perfect curling shot. Everything is covered.
Vic Peters attempting to steal on the 7th end with the score tied at 2.
We run on both. What's he do?
This would be the best way across the top. May jam that one, eh? What do you think? That's not there, that one.
Eh?
That's not there. Across the top onto this one? You can run it through too, eh?
Okay.
You can run right through too.
Yeah. Once I key in the spot, we're in the spot again. Eh?
What do you want to do?
It's easier to make it this way, I think.
Okay.
If it floats on the line, you can get it to high side.
Okay.
High side's tough.
Right here, yeah, I know.
Less.
Well, what Russ Howard is looking at, he wants to hit this one straight back and hope that he gets it and takes that one out at the back don. What he has to be afraid of is that maybe he drive it over on this one and the Manitoba rock settle in that area there. So he wants to run it straight back and hope that his shooter rolls off in a bit. And more importantly, make contact with that one in the 4 foot. Oh, he's on the inside. Oh, that's the worst case scenario.
Why?
Well, because now the guard is still there to allow Vic Peters the chance to come around on top of it. Now you're lying 2 behind cover.
They're not even looking.
Look good.
Let me have a look.
How much can you see?
Can't see any of it. I mean, I give him a double. If I give him 3/4 rock, it'll make a double. Well, yeah. Where else do we go? Throw a guard on that side. Well, I guess you can make this draw for 1.
Yeah, we can get in with this.
Okay, let's play. You don't want to click the guard?
No, we got to be by the guard.
That's exactly right.
If it isn't moving, we can leave it high. Yeah, this intern should curl the draw a little bit, eh? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, there, I think. Yeah, I think so, Dan. Take a little more.
Yeah.
Well, what he wants to do, he wants to bring his rock in this area here. Right there, so that he eliminates that raised takeout by Russ Howard. And if he gets a real good shot, and the sweepers will decide, and Dan will decide how much weight he's got, if he can pull it in here, it's just a super shot, Donnie. That's where he'd like to be. But I don't know whether the rock will move enough for him to get around the guard and into the house. Of course, there's always the danger when you go in tight that you set up a double, but I think you have to really go for it.
I don't think it'll over-curl, eh?
I think it will curl,
Yeah, I don't think it'll over-curl, though, from there.
That's the big concern. Will it over-curl? He's got lots of ice. He's about 6 inches off the outside of the inside of the 8-foot. So he's got lots of room.
How quickly the tempo of an end can change. Just one shot here and there. That great roll by Carey.
He certainly doesn't want to rub that front one off because then Howard have a wide open hit for 2. Look at this rock run straight. Now it's got to start coming in. Now it's starting to move a bit. Is it going to curl enough?
Dan
now
Carey
they got to go
said
hard.
the rock would move at the finish.
Oh, this is a great shot. Absolutely a super, super curling shot. That's courage. That really is courage to put it in there like that.
That really leaves Russ Howard with one shot, an out-turn draw.
See, he's taken away the raise straight back. He's taken away the chance for Ontario to get 2 by the raise back. Only shot Howard had is an out-turn. Look at this, just great brushing and a great call by Dan Carey.
I don't know whether it'll bend enough here. That's the only problem.
Sweepers do a super job because they know it's by the guard and they got a chance to get it in tight to the one in the 4-foot.
You know, Russ Howard just brought up a good point on this draw, and that's whether or not it's going to curl enough. He's got to take a little bit more ice to get around that center guard, and it just might hang on him.
That's the danger for him, but it'll finish similar to the one that Vic Peters threw on the intern side. It will finish at the end. Oh, you heard Russ Howard said it's heavy.
The last rock of the 7th end, and this could be the decisive end in this Labatt Brier final. Will this one dig in?
It is staying very, very straight. You're right, Colleen, is not moving. Now it should finish. Is it going to stop in time? Is it? No, it's not going to pull over enough. Manitoba's going to steal one.
Manitoba's red rock is the counter. And on N7, Manitoba steals a single point. So Vic Peters, despite not having last rock on the 7th end, moves in front by a score of 3-2. So with 3 ends remaining, Manitoba leads by 1. Right now, let's go to Sports Weekend Control, and here's Brian.
All right, Don, very busy afternoon. University Hockey Championships in the second period. The University of Alberta Golden Bears out in front of the Acadia Axemen 2-1. Let's go to the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland. Washington out in front of the New York Islanders 2-0. Here is Dmitry Kristich, his 30th of the year. Pavanka and Johansson. 30 seconds later, it was Kristich from Pavanka and Johansson, some of Don Cherry's friends there. Don Cherry would love that scoring combination. Kristich from Pavanka and Johansson, 2-0. Within the hour, the Detroit Red Wings at Winnipeg. The Jets lead the Calgary Flames by 4 in the Smythe. Toronto Blue Jays lead the Texas Rangers by a score of 6-0 in the second inning. Juan Guzman has allowed 2 hits. The Blue Jays batted around off Jose Guzman in the first inning. No home runs in that game. The Expos and the Atlanta Braves still tied 1-1. More live curling coverage of the Labatt Brier coming up right after this.
The Automobile Journalists of Canada took 3 months to test the finalists, but just a few seconds to choose the winner. The Mazda RX-7, voted Best New Performance Car of 1992.
For all those people who want a roll of bathroom tissue to last longer, there's new Purex Jumbo. With 50% more billowy soft sheets on every roll, it takes forever to run out.
Whoa. Is he there, please? Yes, this is David Watson. W-A-T-S-O-N. 555-1167. It's very important. So, ladies, can I buy you a beverage? Excuse me. Watson. Brunette? Yeah. It's for you.
Hello? Oh, hi.
Can we buy you a blue?
A blue? Sure. No, we'd rather come down there.
Great.
Thank you.
Labatt's blue. Now you're laughing.
Mere words
Or is the taste of Pepsi so big, America's really got to have it?
Gotta have it. It's something I felt for years, but never had the words to express.
If it's so popular, how come everybody's drinking it?
Henry's only regret is that he started drinking Pepsi this late in life.
The phrase, gotta have it, strikes a chord deep in the human psyche.
Now that everybody's gotta have it, Pepsi's not gonna need celebrity endorsers anymore.
And that's what I've been saying all along.
At Mazda, we believe a car should just feel right. So do the Automobile Journalists of Canada. The MX-3 Presidia, voted Best New Sporty Car of 1992.
3-2, Manitoba leads Ontario. We are playing the 8th end at the Agridome in Regina in the Labatt-Brier final. The winner of this championship will go on to represent Canada at the World Championship in Garmisch-Partenkirchen beginning on the 28th of March. And an Ontario stone just picked up a hare. Earlier we saw 2 Manitoba stones lost to hares, and the stone just delivered by Ontario's second, Wayne Middaugh, picked up a hare just before it got to the hog line.
And his whole end, Vic Peters started off by asking Don Rudd to throw his rock through, and that's exactly what he's done. So he's going to try and run Russ Howard right through to the 10th end, say, okay, Russ, take your one in the 10th if you can, and I'll beat you in the extra end. So this is kind of interesting philosophy. It's dangerous, let me tell you, to try and run 8, 9, and 10, but this team is capable of doing it. Of course, Russ Howard will try and get that cornerstone up or a center stone to get around and try and score his 2 points.
You have to be really confident of your peeling to play it this way, because one little mistake and Russ Howard gets to go around that front rock.
Well, Manitoba did it in the round-robin game. Manitoba scored 2 in the 6th end to take a 6-4 lead, and they continued to blank right through until the 10th end when Russ Howard ran out of rocks, and the score ended 6-4 in favor of Manitoba.
Shame for Russ Howard on his last rock in that last end, because he had perfect weight and it just didn't bend. It's kind of reminiscent of the 85 Brier when Pat Ryan with the draw for the win.
Good comparison. That's exactly what happened.
And it never curled for him. Perfect weight.
He was right on the tee line, right in the center of it, just didn't move, and it had to curl into the fat part of the forefoot, and unfortunately it didn't come about. It's a shame, you know, when you throw such great draw weight and you know you're in the forefoot and you end up second shot.
And when you're talking about the 1985 Brier and that shot by Pat Ryan, the 85 Brier was won on that spectacular shot by Al Hackner.
One of the all-time great moments in Canadian sport.
A little more.
That shot.
Yeah.
And we talked about this a little bit yesterday, but right now with Manitoba peeling for the next couple of ends, if suddenly Vic Peters and his team have to come around and start making finesse, it gets much harder when you peel for the last few ends.
That's the danger in running everything. All of a sudden you get a nose hit or you hit a corner guard, they come around it. Now you have to finesse it, say in the 9th end, and you've thrown nothing but takeouts. It gets to be a little bit dicey.
While we have seen some rocks pick up hares during this championship game, all the curlers during the week have been most complimentary regarding ice conditions and the job that ice maker Marcel DeWitt has done here at the Agridome in Regina. DeWitt, part of a committee headed by Chairman Don Lewis, and they are to be congratulated on staging an outstanding 1992 Brier.
Well, it's just been a super week, and we knew coming in that the people of Saskatchewan would support this Brier, as they've supported all curling events down through the years. And curlers are very fortunate to come here and play in front of these knowledgeable fans. As they were in Halifax, good crowds, entertaining curling.
Yeah, I think they have preparing Briers and Scots down to a science now. They've got their formula, and it's becoming very popular to watch, too. Always has been out in this part of the land.
Well, Colleen, you've become a regular at the Scott Tournament of Hearts. You going to try and get back there next year?
Wouldn't mind it. It's in Brandon next year. Double Manitoba teams there next year with Connie Laliberty getting the straight by
The
into
out turn
it.
doesn't pull an inch. I wanted to go tighter, but if I wreck, the game's over, you know.
It's going to come up a little bit.
Well, not much, because the weight was still there. Like the bands, I got it.
They're still talking about the big draw on the 7th end.
Isn't this amazing, though, how much respect Howard has for Vic Peters? He said, well, you know, I took enough ice because I didn't want to wreck. If I wrecked, the game's over. And that would have been a 2-point swing. He would only been 2 points down, but he thinks the game would have been over. So that's how much respect he has for this Manitoba team, and vice versa. You get down 2 points to Russ Howard, you've got problems.
Vic Peters out of the Granite Curling Club in Winnipeg, leading by a score of 3-2. 3 stones remain to be delivered on this 8th end.
Well, I'm sure they're all watching back at the Granite. Al Hooker, our congenial manager. And all the great supporters of Vic Peters. He's a great member of our club.
Yeah, as soon as their brush went down, that's when it went back. Yeah.
The fans reacting, perhaps you can hear it. Again, Neil Cochran, our tracking cameraman, being pulled down the ice by Brian Wilson. And they react as they race down the ice, I'm sure wondering if that camera is going to stop in time, which it always does.
Russ Howard trying to put this rock in the corner of the sheet. They haven't laid a brush to it. It looks a little bit strong. Should start to dig in here, but he's going to go through the back. Boy. And he's well through, Colleen. That's not a good sign. Maybe just drove out a little bit too much or put a little bit extra on it because he was going to the sides.
That's what you call not concentrating.
Sure, that's right. That'll do it.
I don't think it
Now
makes a difference.
Well, let's just make this one. We got to have the feel.
Kerry and Peters are saying, okay, now where can we put this one that he'll miss? Well, maybe in the Brier patch, because I don't think Russ Howard missed it, but you're actually looking for a spot, Dice, that is a little bit tricky.
Left side there.
That if he happens to overthrow it, he might put it out and miss it.
Yeah, but he just peeled one there. Remember last time going that way? I like going into the corner and make him throw the in-turn. That one of mine just flared a little, you know.
See, you look for any advantage you can get. Put it in the corner, in-turn. If he's going to throw the in-turn at it, you know, it'll flare a bit on him or fall out a bit. So that's why he's going over there.
Yes, you try and remember every shot that has been played in various positions on the ice.
That's good. Okay, lean in. Use it. Whoa. Not too much. Not too much. T-line. Come on. Hard. Right to the field.
And Vic Peters got his wish, put it over in the corner, and was forcing Russ Howard to play the in-turn. And he wouldn't be upset if Russ hit this on the nose and took his point.
Then control would shift back to Vic Peters. It would be tied at 3, but Peters would have last rock advantage. And that's what all curlers really look for, is to have last rock advantage coming to the 10th end with the score either tied or down 1.
That's all you want, is the advantage
or up 7.
Or up 7. And a perfect peel.
Russ Howard hits and rolls out to retain last rock advantage into end number 9. But through 8 ends of this Labatt Brier final, Manitoba is in front by a score of 3-2.
I guess it's the people at Bank of Montreal. They know what you need, and they're there to help you.
We like to go into the front yard, put down a blanket, and look at the house and draw pictures of how we see our house once we finish the renovations.
I just feel it's important for him as he grows up to know how to manage his money.
You hope that the children will be educated and have a better life.
Just being able to afford a future with the way things are these days.
Bank of Montreal. We're paying attention.
It's people dealing with people.
On June 23rd, 1991, Mazda defeated Jaguar, Porsche, and Mercedes to win the world's most prestigious 24-hour endurance race, Le Mans. But Le Mans
wasn't won in a day. It took years of tireless research, innovation, and commitment. It's the way we build racing cars. But more importantly, it's the way we build every Mazda.
Labatt's Light takes a refreshing look at the block party. There are large block parties. And then there are small block parties. But what's a block party without a party animal? Then there's the taste of a Labatt's Light. Right out of the ice. Now that's refreshing.
So, it's your turn to spring for the donuts. I sprang last time. What? You sprang. I sprung, remember? 2 chocolate dips, an apple fritter, 2 Boston cream, and a Dutchie. Incredible. Look, it's only $3.25 for 6. Yeah. So, why don't you spring?
Spring for 6 fabulously fresh donuts at Tim Hortons, still only $3.25.
Hey, I wanted the sugar twist. Who sprang? You sprung. Exactly. I'll spring tomorrow.
We're playing the 9th end of the Labatt Brier at the Agridome in Regina, Manitoba, leading Ontario by a score of 3-2. The Labatt Brier tankard will go to the winner, the 13th time that the trophy will be presented. Still to come on Sports Weekend, the World Cup skiing wind-up at Panorama. It's Super G action, which stands for superstar Karen Lee Gartner, capping a golden season. Scott Oak and Curry Chapman will describe the action from Panorama. I'm Don Whitman with Don Dugan and Colleen Jones as we watch play in the 9th end of this Labatt Brier final.
Come on! Come on!
Working hard on the delivery by Peter Corner, and good work gets it across the hog line.
Good work is right. That rock is just about 1.5 feet over, but good brushing by the Ontario team, and you never, ever want to hog a rock, especially the 9th end, national television, because fans back home, that's all they remember.
Interestingly, you know, Peter's again electing to keep this clean. Well, if he goes on to win the Brier, once he goes to the World Championship, he can't employ this kind of strategy anymore of running them through and throwing his lead rocks through the house because, of course, the free guard zone rules in effect in Garmisch.
That's right. He'll have to protect, to practice his come-arounds and tap-backs and not running front rocks. And it's going to be quite a transition for him, but I think they can handle it no matter who goes. Whether it be Vic Peters or Ontario, we've got 2 great representatives.
I think the CCA has delayed any decision on the free guard zone in Canadian curling until 1994.
That's exactly right. They can't make a move till 1994. And I respect them for that decision. I think maybe they were wise in saying, just hang on a minute here, let's have a look at it, because if you poll a lot of the curlers, they want the free guard zone, but a lot of them want it modified to what it is now. And I think that's terrific. And I think Canadian Curling Association should accept a lot of input from competitive curlers, because they're the guys that are responsible for this game, for television, for exciting Briers, and they should always be consulted.
Well, it was Russ Howard who invented the free guard zone, or the modified Moncton rule, and he thinks that the rule should be modified a little bit just to include 3 rocks instead of the first 4 rocks can't be hit outside the ring.
Chris Neufeld hits that stone, and his shooter remains to the left of the center line as you look at it, and Russ Howard, with last rock advantage, will now try to capitalize as Wayne Middaugh delivers his 2nd stone of the end.
That may not look like a big mistake from Neufeld, but boy, it sure lets Howard into the game again.
Well, not only that, they played down this particular area the whole 7th end, so they should know how much the ice reacts.
Did they wait too long?
No, he's got a great-looking shot. Now it's just a question of get it in the rings. That's a perfect shot. They leave it high, just like that, so it doesn't curl out the other side. That's a perfect shot. Now, if you're Vic Peters, do you run the front or you come down on top? And you see here, it's pretty well covered, and Vic Peters is going in after this rock. And this is a big gamble. You might say, well, maybe I should run it back. Hopefully, get enough of the front rock, raise it straight back, make the kill, and hope that my shooter rolls over more towards the boards.
Right here, guys.
Dan Carey will be attempting a corner freeze to that shot stone belonging to Ontario.
This is a courageous call, let me tell you, but
chap off.
For Dan Carey, he certainly doesn't want to go by them both. If anything, maybe rub the front one.
It is a big call. I think I'd be running the front at this stage.
Well, that's right, because there's only 4 rocks to come for Ontario, so it'd be pretty easy to hang around to score their 2. Oh, he's by. He's got a good-looking shot. No, he just touched it. Now they got to brush it and hope it gets in the rings. Oh, and just catches a piece of the 12-foot. That's a pretty good shot. The only bad thing is Ontario's got a chance to go around that corner now. The rock belonging to Manitoba in the 12th.
Yeah, point it a little.
What do you like? Go around the red one.
Split the house right for a deuce right now, you mean? Yeah.
If I go around, I go half around him, though. That's not bad.
Yeah.
Give me lots here, Russ. Normal, eh, guys?
Okay, what they're looking at, they want to split the house for 2, but I think Russ Howard will play it fairly close and hope to get the rock in this area here, maybe partially behind this rock belonging to Manitoba. But the big concern, of course, is splitting the house. He's got lots of ice. He's just going to play it fairly wide open. The big thing is they want to make sure they get lots of separation, Don, because Manitoba will play the double off the one partially behind the center guard. One on the left there.
Go here. Wow. Wait. Come on. Wow, right on. Ready, hard. Great.
That's pretty good. There's no double air.
I know what you're thinking. I think he's going to get it in. I just hung the line too long.
Yeah.
Give me lots of ice, so that was fine.
It's there.
Okay?
Double's there.
I think so.
Yeah. I should be a keeper. Really playing that double. Oh, it's double set. No. I'm just wondering if we can get behind.
I don't think the double is there.
You know, he's got no chance to be out. Okay? Hey? You move pretty good, eh? It does, but even the nose isn't bad right there. Even a partial flop's not bad. Yeah. On the way. We could go after this one. Flop behind that yellow one. It's not a bad shot. Bumper weight. Try to, if we... We're a little off. Yeah. If we make the flop here, we got to try to leave a corner out so he doesn't have the... You can always use that rock later for a double, you know? Okay. Like we hit this wrong and he takes a good bump. I kind of like this. What kind of weight? Bumper. Will it go off that line? It will. Yeah. At least with bumper, it's got a chance to come off. Right? Bumper? Yeah.
Well, Vic Peters has decided to play this one. What he wants to do is get this rock and hopefully spin his shooter over into this area behind that rock on the right-hand side. The danger for Vic Peters is if he hits this one and rolls out, Donnie, then it allows Ontario to get the rock in better behind this guard up here. So that's the difficulty. It is important that he gets a roll and becomes shot rock on this one.
So we don't set up the angle and the flop behind. Eh? Leave a corner of it out on the center line side. Bumper.
I'm a little nervous about this shot.
Oh, yep. Quick! Oh. Wow! Right on!
See, that's the danger of this shot. He's going to roll out, and now it allows Ontario the opportunity to get in tighter and better into the 4-foot. And that was the danger of playing that shot. I mean, you had to stick somewhere in the rings with your shooter.
Come off that line. It didn't at all. Weight was okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, surprising. Both Russ Howard and Vic Peters seemed to think a double was there prior to Carey throwing that stone.
I don't think so. They were fairly well even.
Perfect. You can get the double. Like he's got to make it. He misses it. We got a 3. We go ahead and make a 3.
I don't like it for this.
So deep.
Well, T-line's not bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Not only do you have to plan your own
Where do you
shots,
like it? Yeah, but
you
where?
have to think about what the opponent might do.
It's not bad.
Yeah.
Oh, that's exactly right. You have to be careful. And I think for Russ Howard, he wants to pull the rock right into this area here, Doc. He certainly doesn't want to pull the rock back here where Vic Peters may freeze to it or may play the double. So he wants to make sure he wants this rock half of the 8-foot behind the guard.
Manitoba leads by a score of 3-2. This is the 9th end. Last rock belongs to Ontario.
This rock will finish at the end. He's well by the guard. Look at that. He's a good 18 inches going by that guard. Now it'll snap. It'll finish for him here. Okay. This is courage time. Do you play the double or do you come down on top of it? I think I might play the double.
So half at least. Okay? You know? Yeah. A quiet bump. Quiet bump. Quiet bump. Yeah.
He's gambling here. He really is gambling. Saying quiet bump. That rock is fairly wide open.
Not bad. How much can you see? Yeah. Hack? Yeah. A little more ice? Center ice.
I wonder if the back of his mind, Victor is maybe playing the double.
Just a little more. What?
I know it's a thin double, but even if he hits half a rock on and he comes over in front of that rock, it's very tough for Ontario to get in there.
That's what I'm trying to make. Okay, halfway.
You know, if you make the double, you're lying 2 and you're behind the guard.
We got to get him out.
It'd be a very nervy call, but Vic's decided he's just going to play hack weight, come down and pump that Ontario rock in the back.
All the calls seem nervy at this stage of the game.
Oh, he got that thing started. Or either that or picked up something.
Now the possibility of 3 for Ontario exists on this 9th end.
I don't know whether that rock picked up something or whether Victor hooked it inside, but we'll just see if we can get a replay of this to see whether he did turn it in. Let's see what he says.
Well, he isn't going to say much right at the moment.
4 bloody hairs in one game. We had 2 all week. Or whatever the hell it is.
I think it's all kinds of ice. Me too. I'm going to keep it clean. Now, where do we exactly want this, Russ?
Well, I don't know, but they got to get down.
It'll be nice to hide it, eh?
It picked up a hair.
No matter what. Like, don't jump on it.
Or do you want to just bump that straight back?
He comes in, we're at.
They're talking about it. Picked up a hair. Oh, and that's a shame. That's 4 in this game, and it's such a crucial time.
It's too much ice to tuck it, isn't it? Yeah, true.
So for Russ Howard, Don, he wants to make sure that he's partially around that guard and top of the 4-foot. Oh, and that's a shame.
Yes, a very tough break for Vic Peters on this 9th end.
You hear him yelling a lot away, and he's well by the guard. Now it's starting to move. Look at that rock go. That's got something as well.
So perhaps a reprieve for Manitoba.
There's no question that rock actually picked up. I think it picked up something.
I know, but we could have swept it, too.
Well, the thing is, the Ontario's front end lifted their brooms totally. You'd think after 4 rocks have been lost by hair that they'd at least be keeping it clean, even if they didn't have to sweep it for line.
No question about it, Colleen.
Yeah.
You've got to keep it clean in this crucial situation. But for Vic Peters now, he's got the same shot, and he's going to try and come down and tap it back.
Guys, got it. You can't chop off her, eh?
Now look at here. They're brushing it very hard.
Okay.
Corner and Madar really doing a big job of sweeping. Now they brush harder. Now watch here. They kind of slow down. Corner picks up his brush, and so does Madar. Now watch this rock go. It jumps. By that time, it's too late. It's on the guard.
Just that brief pause, and the rock seemed to pick up something and cut very sharply.
A little less.
You can be rest assured that the Manitoba front end of Rudd and Neufeld will be brushing this very lightly all the way down the ice. Lots of room. That rock is not moving at all. Victor's got a lot of weight. No, not a bad shot, but lots of room for Ontario to hit it on the inside.
Well, we saw Russ Howard make a delicate pick of a shot rock belonging to Kevin Martin of Alberta in yesterday's semifinal, and it looked as though he wouldn't be able to chip it out cleanly, and Alberta would get back to within a single point. Instead, he made it to pick up a pair and take control of the game, leading 7-3 at that point.
As it crosses the line, it'll move all day.
Yeah, but will it bend here?
Yep.
I think it will, because they don't bend here.
No, you got to go tight.
So they were board?
I think firm board. Let me think about this.
That's right.
A couple here. But with any weight at all, it won't make a big move.
What if I threw hack here?
How much?
Hack.
I don't think it'll get by.
Just in their mind, they're establishing weight.
With solid weight.
I think they can hold it because the ace is a little this way, don't they?
Yeah. I think you need solid weight here, though.
Yeah, if they jam it, we're dead.
You really actually got a lot of room. It's just making when it makes the move.
I like board.
Okay.
Quiet board.
That's what I was thinking, yeah.
What he meant, if he jams it and gives up a point, Manitoba's 2 up heading home.
I think he's got to throw it out there, hack weight, let it have the line all the way down, and then let it snap at the end. And that's what he has to do. He cannot afford to overthrow this, Don. If he overthrows it and he gets it outside the line, it will not move. It'll only move from the hog line in.
Well, the advantage for him is it's a nice long guard, but this certainly is the Brier with this shot here.
The final rock of the 9th end.
Well, he put it out there, and he's got a lot of weight. He's well by the guard.
He may jam it.
Well, he's certainly not going to get 3, I'll tell you that. He only is going to scores 1. Boy, that rock hung there, and he only got 1, and what a break for Manitoba.
Well, that was the concern of Ontario skip Russ Howard, that he would jam the red Manitoba rock back onto his own, and that's exactly what happened. And heading to the 10th and final end, Manitoba has last rock advantage with the score tied at 3.
Ready? Okay, guys, it's okay. No problem.
So now Russ Howard has to steal.
Go, guys.
He hopes to win his 2nd Labatt Brier tankard.
Well, you hear Glenn firing up the troop. Never mind, you guys. Lots of time. We can get it. We can do it. But interesting, the comment he made to Russ has come down. He said, Russ, you threw it inside out, which means he was inside the broom, Don, then tried to flare it back. And when you do that on the outside of the center where the ice is running straight, it'll stay on that line, and that's exactly what happened there. An unfortunate break for Russ Howard, a tremendous break for Vic Peters.
Over 120,000 spectators have watched action at the Agridome in Regina during this Brier week. And wherever you're looking in this afternoon on the CBC television network, we hope you're enjoying this championship game between Manitoba and Ontario.
Well, now, for Vic Peters and Manitoba, they want to peel 7 straight rocks. They don't want any rocks in play, and of course, Russ Howard is looking for a half a shot out of Manitoba. Even if he hits and rolls to the corner, to get at least something to hide behind.
The teams are now even in percentages at 82 each. At one point, Ontario held a big edge on Manitoba, but the Manitoba rink has come on stronger in the latter end. And Don Rudd, the lead, peels the first delivery by Peter Connor.
I know what goes through Vic Peters' mind. When I was skipping, the worst case scenario was that your lead hit the opening rock on the nose, because then you were into it for 7 straight rocks. At least get by the leads with clearing the front. The second hits one, you don't feel quite as bad. You don't want it to happen, but you don't ever want your lead to hit the opening rock on the nose.
Peter Corner, the Ontario lead, places the guard, and Vic Peters immediately moves out and asks Don Rudd to remove it.
Wait.
Some exciting developments in that ninth end. And
not this tight, no. This is straight.
You know, we talked about a break deciding the game. Vic Peters got a bad break by that rock picking up something. He got a good break when the Ontario team either misswept that rock on or it picked up something.
Yep.
Russ Howard.
You know, it looks fairly simple to hit the rocks and roll the shooter out of play. But that can sometimes be a very difficult shot.
Oh, it really is, especially the pressure, the tension. Here you have a chance to be a Canadian champion, go on to represent your country at the World Championship, and you maybe just have a tendency to get your rocks down and get your job done and get out of this game, and you overthrow it a bit. Throw it a little bit inside, and before you know it, you got a nose hit.
These guys seem to make every shot look easy, too, even a draw to the pot. Or I guess it's a draw to the blue now.
Well, Don Rudd, the Manitoba lead, has now moved ahead of all other curlers as the top percentage shooter in this game at 89%.
Isn't that interesting? And he was the low percentage shooter in the round robin of all these 8 players.
Still wait.
Had a big game for Don Rudd.
This is how the seconds compare. The only stone in play, that Ontario rock at the top of the 12-foot. Chris Neufeld wants to run it and roll the shooter out as well.
Well, the nice thing for Chris Neufeld is the fact this rock is in the house. And if he knows that it's not a good shot, but it's not a bad shot, as opposed to being out in front if he hits it on the nose. So now Vic is putting rocks over in the corner and starting to count them. And somewhere, Russ Howard is looking to place a rock in a tricky spot, hoping that Manitoba miscues and maybe hits a 3/4 of it, and their shooter hangs around out in front.
Again, Vic Peters quickly moves up to that stone and asks for its removal. I imagine at this stage of a game, the skip can't get to that rock fast enough to position his broom.
Oh, no. And honestly, just hopes that the guys throw it the same way that they've been throwing it all year. Don't up their weight. Don't flare it out. Just do your normal thing, and that's exactly what Neufeld did.
So just 8 rocks remain to be played, 4 by each side on the 10th end of this Labatt Brier final, with the score tied at 3. Manitoba has the last rock.
There are always few decisions to make in the 10th when you're tied with the hammer. You just keep peeling and hope everybody makes them.
Well, we said earlier that the 7th end could be the decisive end in the match. That was when Manitoba stole one. But I think now the turning point would definitely have to be the 9th, where both Vic Peters and Russ Howard lost rocks to Hare. And Russ Howard, with a chance for 3 with his final stone, was unable to cleanly remove the Manitoba shot rock.
Well, I don't know how many games Russ Howard has played, but I think you'd have to go a long way back to find him missing 2 rocks in the 9th end. That's exactly what happened to him.
he was really fortunate that the Manitoba shooter just rolled out enough, too. That was, you know, just 3 or 4 inches difference between Manitoba stealing one and Ontario getting one.
Big difference, being 2 down heading home. Short time. And Terry wants to peel, and he does. And as Vic Peters walks back, I'm sure he says to himself, 3 rocks to come.
Now a little conference. We'll listen in to see what they have to say, where they want to put it. Maybe Russ Howard is thinking of putting it in the rings.
Well, not all week that would move, you know. Anything in there, all week that would go nuts.
Anyway, where do you want to put this one?
Let's slow it down a bit. We got lots of time to make him think about it. On this,
That's the easiest spot, I think.
the O-turn?
Right there is the easiest spot to feel.
Yeah, I think so,
I was
too.
thinking this one.
Yeah, try and get into the 4.
Get into
And
the
make
4.
it go in-turn.
Yeah.
And that's something else
Give me the in-turn, Russ.
has come into vogue in the last few years, the time clock. And curlers now can use the clock. You heard Russ say, we got lots of time, almost 14 minutes remaining of the 75 on the Ontario clock. So they have lots of time, and as Russ said, we'll give Vic just a little time to think about these final 3 stones.
Well, that's right. It's very important, and the longer he keeps them standing out there, the more time he has to think about it. But not only that, they're looking for a spot in the ice, hoping that somewhere Manitoba can hit it on the nose. And you heard Glenn say, well, let's put it right on the center in-turn side.
Well, and the more you can slow down the tempo of the game right now and make the Manitoba rake think that every shot they're a win closer to winning the Brier, he might get the nerves working then.
That's just the way through it, Russ. Yeah, I know, but still. Anything less than, like with normal.
Still talking about the rock in the ninth.
Yeah. Yes, I'm sure he'll have nightmares about that one.
He misses so rarely, it's hard to put it behind him when he does.
And Dan Carey's done his job. 2 great kills.
Four rocks still to be played on the 10th end of this Labatt Brier final.
I can get him to throw it anyway, but an out-turn. I like this.
Okay.
I really do.
And it's within their grasp now. Vic Peters just has to kind of calm his nerves a bit, and he's used to it. He's played for a lot of money. He's lost in finals before. He knows what it's like, and he can taste it now.
Well, the Peters rink won about 40,000 this year on the cash spiel circuit. They started the year with a victory in the Mother Club spiel at their home club, the Granite Curling Club.
We didn't like much of that.
Oh, that's it even. Clean. Clean. Oh.
One stone out in front of the rings, and Vic Peters wants to remove that rock and roll the shooter out of play.
Front end's really doing their housekeeping now.
He doesn't want to give Russ Howard anything at all, even the slightest outside portion of the 12-foot ring to hide behind that stone.
Hard. Clean. Clean.
You know when they say saying clean that he's fairly close to making it.
So all Russ Howard can do now is place a stone in the rings and hope that Vic Peters either misses or the shooter rolls out as well.
There you have Russ Howard curling 72%, which is really unusual for him.
And he was at 90% at one time in this game.
I'm going to watch on this. Yeah.
Vic Peters trying to control his emotions at the moment, compose himself for the final shot of the game.
Russ Howard trying to put this in an area where hopefully Vic would miss it or hit and roll out, and Vic saying to himself, now I know this ice like the back of my hand. The worst case scenario is that I overthrow the rock. Now they're just trying to get a bite of the 12-foot. And I don't know how many times Vic Peters has thrown this rock at the Granite Curling Club, but I know I've been there practicing a few days, and I've seen him practicing hour after hour after hour, and it boils down to one out-turn takeout. All his practice, all the trials and tribulations of trying to win a Canadian championship over the years on this rock.
Wendy Howard anxiously watching. You saw Deb Peters. Can she watch this final shot?
Well, she can watch it, but it's going to be difficult. It'll run straight down there, Don. What he can't afford to do is flare it out.
A Canadian championship riding on this stone.
Clean. No. Wow. Clean. Clean. Wow.
Oh, he's going to stay. He's got a lot of weight. This is going to hang around. No, it rolls out.
I think they may call for a measurement.
Oh, he threw a little bit more weight, I think, than he wanted to. The rock flares out on that side, and we knew it would, and he might have rolled a fraction of an inch too far.
But I believe they are going to call for a measurement.
No question about it. From our overhead camera, you can see there's lots of white ice between the rock and the rings. So that indicates to me that that rock is out. But you never know. You measure it anyway, just to make sure.
So they will measure this stone.
Do it one more in here. Do it all the way back.
And we'll see.
No.
Outside.
So we are going to an extra end in the Labatt Brier final here at the Agridome in Regina. Vic Peters had to hit and stick with his final stone. It rolled just that fraction too far, and an extra end is coming up. So new enthusiasm for the Howard supporters. And now for Vic Peters and his Manitoba champions, they must regroup. An extra end to determine the 1992 Canadian Men's Curling Championship. And we'll be back right after this message.
You can make a lot dry beer in the comfort of your own home. All you need is a lot rare aromatic hops, a lot choice Canadian barley, a lot cold clear water, and a few other fine ingredients. You brew it longer than Labatt's regular beer for a clean, dry taste. Oh, that's right. You need La 15,000-gallon kettle. Nah, maybe you better let Labatt make La Beer dry.
With sweeping lines that soothe the senses, dual airbags that make more than sense, and innovations like using the sun to cool the interior. What else could we have called this car? The new 929 Surrender from Mazda.
I never thought I'd like it. Then one night I was working late, needed a cup of coffee. No milk around, just coffee mate. I knew plenty of guys around the office used it all the time, so I gave it a shot. You know, it makes coffee taste creamy, rich, the whole bit. Now I know why those guys like Coffee Mate instead of milk. Makes coffee taste great. And I never believed it.
Coffee Mate. Don't doubt it. Try it.
Everybody's moving to a brand new notion. Come on, baby, tissue with lotion. You're really gonna like it once you put it in motion. Come on, baby, Ultra with lotion.
New Kleenex Ultra Tissue with lotion, so it feels soft and soothing on even the sorest nose.
Come on, come on.
Kleenex Ultra, softer because it has lotion.
Only the lonely know the heartaches I've been through.
To the dismay of certain individuals, more people are spending less time at home.
There goes my baby, there goes my heart.
Because by having Boost between meals or sometimes as a meal, they're getting many of the nutrients they need to help them keep active. Sorry, Polly.
Well, the time clocks have been reset. Each side will have 10 minutes in which to play all their stones on this extra end. The score is tied at 3. The 1992 Canadian Men's Curling Championship going into overtime. Vic Peters with a chance to win it with his final stone of the 10th end. But that's why Russ Howard placed his stone where he did, on the edge of the 12-foot, hoping that Peters would not be able to hang around.
Well, that's right, and there wasn't much room for error where he put it, because it was in the 12-foot Don, and you almost had to hit 9/10 of the rock to stay. Unfortunately for Vic, and I don't know whether he overthrew that particular rock, but I knew it ran very straight down there. Maybe he put a little bit extra on it, but it ran very, very straight. Unfortunately for Vic, he caught 7/10 instead of 9/10 of the rock.
He's an inch away from winning the Brier 1 second, and now Ontario's got their second life.
Well, you have to regroup in this situation. You have to say, okay, well, that's fine. You know, we still got last rock. Let's not just get discouraged.
Yeah, you have to say we peeled all last end and we'll peel all this end.
That's exactly right.
It's always harder to say when the Brier's on the line and you were so close to making it to win.
You can't think about that. Now, this is just like any other end. Happens to be the extra end, and you still have the advantage of last rock. They know how this rock runs in the outturn side. They know how the in-turn side. They made some great shots in the odd ends going away from home. So they know how it works. So they just have to maintain their composure and keep making their shots. And I know that Russ Howard has just breathed a big sigh of relief, because there's nothing more frustrating than putting up 7 guards and the other team running off all 7 of them, and you have to try to hide the rock somewhere in the house.
Well, Colleen earlier alluded to the 1985 Labatt Brier final when Al Hackner of Northern Ontario defeated Pat Ryan of Alberta. That was the last time that a Brier final went to an extra end, and it was Al Hackner stealing the winning point on the extra end for a 6-5 victory over Pat Ryan. Ryan had gone through round-robin play unbeaten.
Wow. And this is not an easy job for Ontario either, the front end, the corner, Middaugh and Glenn Howard. They have to put this rock out in front. If they go into the rings, it's really to Manitoba's advantage. They want to make sure they're somewhere between the house and the hog line. And that's very precise curling.
So Wayne Middaugh places his stone just outside the center line of Very anxious moment for Deb Peters as she watched that final stone. Of course, she did not have the advantage that television viewers had, the overhead view showing that the stone was outside the ring. She was anxiously watching to see whether it would hang around. It did not.
That's right. She's sitting at the far end of the ice, Don, and it was spun out. And from her angle, she probably thought it was in. And then when they jumped and everybody stopped and she saw her husband turn around, she knew that the rock was outside the rings. But from the far end, initial contact, she wasn't sure. But once again, Manitoba doing a great job of running off front stones. There hasn't been a person leave their seats for the last 3 ends, I'll tell you that. Packed house here at the Agridome.
And while this game is going into this extra end, we remind you that still ahead on Sports Weekend, the World Cup skiing wind-up at Panorama, Super G action. Karen Lee Gartner goes for goal.
Still wait, Denny.
Chris Neufeld looking to remove that Ontario rock. And roll the shooter out at the same time.
You very seldom hear him yell right away, but he yelled. And he's got a good shot. He must have turned it in a little bit, but a little extra weight. Hung it up straight. And a good job by Rudd and Neufeld. They've done their job.
Well, there were some suggestions earlier in the week that because the Manitoba rink really doesn't have textbook-type deliveries, that may be a flaw.
What's a textbook-type delivery?
Well, I guess that's when you follow certain regulations and instructions on how to throw a stone.
I'm going to get too many buried behind this one.
They have thrown enough rocks in their lifetime. They've perfected that delivery. I mean, if you want to talk about textbook deliveries and non-textbook deliveries, Canadian champion Pat Ryan, you call his a textbook delivery? I mean, he had not a very good smooth release or anything else. His hand, he backhanded and everything else, but he was very, very accomplished. And the same with this team here. They are up on their toe. They're great takeout artists, and they just get the job done. They're efficient.
You don't get extra points for style. It's just whether or not you release it properly and are square to the broom coming out.
Exactly
as long as it gets the job done.
The extra end of this championship game. Dan Carey trying to do what the lead and second on this Manitoba rink did on this end and the previous end, remove those stones out front and roll the shooter out of play as well.
Well, that's 12 perfect peels so far. Manitoba showing great composure here in this extra end in light of the last end. Of course, Ontario once again hoping somewhere they get another break. Glenn Howard with his fluid delivery. Great release.
They're wondering when the Manitoba team's going to make another mistake.
Yep.
Well, the breaks kind of even out after a while, you know, and in the 9th end, Manitoba got a break, and in the 10th end, Ontario was the one to get the break.
Ontario now with just a slight edge in percentage through 10 ends, 83 to 81%. At one point, it was 91% to 79% favoring Ontario.
Yep.
Oh, they're yelling hard on this one.
One rock is bumped up against the sideboards, but the shooter stays in play.
Yeah, well, it would have been off if I rocked it.
I was here, Russ. Yeah, it's that same spot. This track. Yeah, well, it moves. Hey, where do you want to go here? That's where you were.
Russ saying the same spot, reflecting back to the 9th end where his stone didn't bend as much as he thought it would.
Exactly right, but he's throwing a little bit quieter away naturally. Interesting that there's a rock. It's about a foot off the boards. Now you can see it just kind of covering the edge of the 12-foot. As a last resort, Russ Howard will draw around that, providing that Manitoba runs this one off.
He said to the front end as he went down to make this delivery, he said, there's a teaser over there.
And that's right. That's exactly what you want. You want to put the element of doubt in the other skip's mind. Even if the guard is a long way out, you say, and you put one in the corner there, and you're saying, well, should I hit it or should I draw if you're the opposing skip? And that's the element of doubt that we talk about.
But it also promoted too. This place straight feel half rock. Come over here like
A half rock, I think will jam it.
Well, 3/4 roll.
Yeah.
You know, let's make sure we don't try to promote it. Straight peel.
Straight peel. What he's concerned about, Don, is that he hits half this rock and comes over here. Maybe hits this one right on the side of the rock, and then, of course, there's a little bit more room for Howard to draw around. He would.
You know what I mean?
The ideal shot would be to hit that one and clip the other one and roll your shooter out.
That's all we got, you know. That's good ice for me. That's right. Roll over top of it. We have to hit it a little bit fuller.
That's exactly what he wanted to do. Get rid of everything.
Well, I'm sure he feels great about that. Isn't it unbelievable? There's a rock in the house. He hits it and rolls out and has to go into an extra end. Now he's got a tough peel of a guard. He cleans everything.
You're the bonus man.
That's right. It was a bonus shot.
Thanks, Glenn.
And you heard Glenn turn around and say, great shot, Vic. That's how much respect
You'll dig in a hair here?
have for each other. Just a great curling match.
Yep.
So a similar situation to what we witnessed on the 10th end. Howard trying to put the rock somewhere on the edge of the 12-foot, or is he going to be happy placing it elsewhere? Looking for that out-turn draw.
Say room, lots of room. And he's there at the tee line and right on the tee line.
A little more room this time for Vic Peters with the final stone to work with after making contact with that shot rock.
What did I take?
And the thing I don't like about it, I know that Victor's thinking about this, not thinking about it, rather, is he's playing the out-turn now, Don, and to run off the guard, which is almost in the same spot, maybe a little bit over more, he played the in-turn. But I think Vic loves to play the out-turn. He knows how it's going to react down there, and he's just telling the guys, keep it clean.
Same way that I threw in that last one last end.
Same way as he threw.
Yeah, I know.
So he obviously didn't overthrow that one on the last end, in the 10th end.
Yeah.
Now.
A little less. A little less.
Yeah, he's calm. He's good. He knows what he's doing.
So here it is, a second chance at a Canadian championship for Vic Peters of Manitoba.
Whoa! Whoa!
So a lot of weight. Now it's starting to come over. Clean. He's got a half a rock. He's going to stay. He's going to win. A great shot. A great clutch shot by Vic Peters. Second time around.
On the extra end, Vic Peters comes through with a last rock takeout to defeat Russ Howard of Ontario by a score of 4-3. So Vic Peters, Dan Terry, Chris Neufeld, and Don Rudd will wear Canadian colors at the World Curling Championships in Garmisch. The first time since 1984 that Manitoba has laid claim to the Labatt Brier tankard. And interestingly, in 1984, Connie Laliberti won the women's title, the Scott Tournament of Hearts, followed up by Mike Riley's Labatt Brier win. The same pattern in 1992. Laliberti, the Scott Tournament of Heart champions. And now Vic Peters of the Granite Curling Club wins the Labatt Brier.
South. Yeah, it was. Yep.
Oh, good job.
Okay, get over. It's all right. Thanks, kiddo. Thank you.
A very emotional moment for Deb Peters, the wife of the 1992 Canadian champion. So Vic Peters has won the Labatt Brier for 1992, and we'll be back with the closing ceremonies right after this.
Hi, babe.
On June 23rd, 1991, Mazda defeated Jaguar, Porsche, and Mercedes to win the world's most prestigious 24-hour endurance race, Le Mans. But Le Mans wasn't won in a day. It took years of tireless research, innovation, and commitment. It's the way we build racing cars, but more importantly, it's the way we build every Mazda.
Hey, listen, I left my keys inside. Can I go get them? I leave my wallet?
Hustle.
Thanks. My girlfriend left her keys. Can I run give them to her? Go. Thanks. Thanks. Thanks.
Labatt's blue.
Hey! Any trouble getting in?
Now you're laughing.
Until now, your emerging wheat or barley got a rough ride from in-crop wild oat and green foxtail herbicides. But unlike any post-emergent before, New Achieve single-handedly knocks out grass weeds without going against the grain. Achieve smokes wild oats when they're between 1 to 6 leaves, while all spring wheat, all barley develops safely. This season, choose New Achieve, the grass weed control that doesn't go against the grain.
The Mongolian Food Experience in Glenora.
If you hold on a second, you'll see the latest improvement to Roundup herbicide. It's now only $10.95 a liter. Nice work.
Until now, your emerging wheat or barley got a rough ride from in-crop wild oat and green foxtail herbicides. But unlike any post-emergent before, New Achieve single-handedly knocks out grass weeds without going against the grain. Achieve smokes wild oats when they're between 1 to 6 leaves, while all spring wheat, all barley develops safely. This season, choose New Achieve, the grass weed control that doesn't go against the grain.
The Labatt Brier on Sports Weekend. Brought to you by Labatt's Blue and Labatt's Light. And by Mazda. It just feels right.
Given a second chance, Vic Peters made no mistake on the extra end as he removed the shot rock belonging to Ontario and rolled to the edge of the forefoot for the winning point in a 4-3 extra end victory over Russ Howard of Ontario. An agonizing 10 minutes for Deb Peters and the other wives of the 1992 Canadian Championship squad. But they hurried onto the ice to congratulate their husbands, the 1992 Canadian champions, who will now go on to represent Canada at the World Championships in Garmisch-Partenkirchen. And here's Colleen with the new champion, Vic Peters.
Thanks, Don. Vic, you were just watching that last rock. You said it looked kind of easy there. Was it easy when you were throwing it?
It didn't feel easy at all after I missed the first one and the last one in 10. That one wasn't easy at all.
Well, you just rolled out on that 1 in 10. You think you threw your weight up a little bit?
That's what they told me. You know, obviously the adrenaline gets going, and I thought I threw it pretty quiet, but I I imagine I did throw a little hard because it shouldn't have rolled the way I threw it. I thought I threw it good.
Well, you made good on your second chance. Now, tell me, you lost 4 rocks to hares. Were you beginning to think the curling gremlins were working against you?
Yeah, we've had such good luck all week that only 1 rock, in 11 games, and then all of a sudden we start this game out, and thankfully we had the hammer in those situations early because it could have been all over in 3 ends.
Well, you were telling me in the 9th then you thought the game might be over going to Ontario.
Yeah, that was a crucial end. We tried to peel it out, and we got an unfortunate miss early in the end, and Russ put the heat on. And when my first one picked, I thought that was all she wrote. But we were fortunate on his last one. It just didn't curl like he thought it would.
Now, you have to go to Garmisch now for the World Championship playing under the free guard zone rule. So you obviously can employ the same kind of strategy that you employed here in the latter ends.
No, and it's a shame because my guys got really adept at the peel game out here. But we've played under the other format almost right through till Christmas, so it's not something totally foreign to us.
Vic Peters, good luck at the World Championship. Vic Peters, the winning skip of Team Manitoba. Back upstairs to you, Don.
So it's a double in 1992 for Manitoba as Vic Peters comes through to win the Brier. In the game today, Don, did you think perhaps the strategy was a little more conservative than we saw yesterday in the semifinal?
Well, it really was, I thought maybe Russ Howard might have gambled a bit more because, after the demonstration he put on yesterday of shot making, I thought he'd really go after Vic Peters. He suffered a very unfortunate situation in the 9th end, Don. The ice really fooled him. They talked about it for a long time before he threw it, and it hugged the line all the way down. If he makes that shot, he gets 3, and it's lights out for Manitoba.
And Manitoba, of course, as Vic said, had the misfortune of losing 4 stones during the course of the game, but they were able to recover.
Well, that typifies this team, Don. They struggle all the time, but they hang in, they hang in. When Victor hit and rolled out in the 10th, and I thought, oh boy, did he overthrow it, did he underthrow it? I felt a little bit nervous for him on the last one, the extra end, but he threw it perfect.
Vic Peters of the Granite Curling Club in Winnipeg, the 1992 Canadian champion. Let's go back to ice level, and again, here's Colleen.
Russ Howard, you got a second chance in that extra end, but Vic Peters' team didn't let you in at all.
No, they peel well in 10, and we put it over where Vic starts his out-turn out a hair, and we got away with it on a measure. So, but Lightning's not going to strike twice, and they played well. It was a good game. We'd like a couple shots over. My shot at 9 just we took more ice than we needed. It was one of those spots that if I get inside the line, I'm on the guard so fast it's not funny. So we had to take a little extra, and it just tracked on me. And they stole 1 and 7 because my draw was about 1 inch wide. But those things happen. It wasn't like we were way off, and Vic curled well.
2 shots for you, the 7th and the 9th, that you just didn't get a break on. They just didn't really curl the way that the ice was running for you.
Yeah, exactly. Earlier or all week, any out-turn that I threw would finish, and I took about 7 inches of ice on the out-turn draw the lid, and it pulled 6. And then the shot at 9, same thing, it just tracked on the line. And it came nicely at the end, but it was too late.
Tough loss, but nonetheless, it was a great year for you.
Yeah, we had a great year, really good. It was kind of like we felt we were going to win the way the year was going because everything had come up roses, but Vic's a nice team. Same with Kevin yesterday. They're all good teams, and you play the thing again tomorrow. Kevin wins. You play it the day after we win, and we played it in the wrong day. They held it in the wrong day, Colleen.
Always classy in defeat, though. Russ Howard, but they did hold it today, didn't they?
That's right.
All right, Russ Howard, thank you very much. Back upstairs to you, Don.
Thank you, Colleen. And Don, are we about to witness a similar story to what we saw in 1984? Manitoba with 2 major championships already. In 84, Manitoba followed up with 3 more. Bobby Ursel winning the junior, Darcy Kirkness the women's junior, and the late Lloyd Gunlickson the senior. 5 championships that year in 84 for Manitoba after Lala Birdie and Mike Riley got things started. This year it's Lala Birdie and now Vic Peters.
Well, there's a lot of pressure on our senior team, I know that, and they're waiting for me, but it could happen. We've got a good curling province. Great curling today, and like Russ Howard, the class act that he is, says, we should have had this game yesterday, and I thought maybe, once again, he played a little bit too conservative. I thought he should have gone after Vic. He got a very bad break in 9, as we've talked about a couple of times, but he's just a class act, and it was just a classic curling game.
So once again, the top team in round-robin play comes through to claim the Labatt Brier Championship. And Vic Peters and his mates will celebrate the triumph and will be presented with the Labatt Brier tankard when we return to the Agridome in Regina for the closing ceremonies. But right now, let's go back to Sports Weekend Control and Brian Williams.
All right, Don, we'll take it back to Regina in just a minute. Congratulations to the University of Alberta Golden Bears, University hockey champions for 1992. You see the final score. The Golden Bears have just defeated the Acadia Axemen. The game played at Varsity Arena in Toronto. Let's take you to the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland. We're going to show you some neat work by Dmitry Kristich. Watch this. This is Johansson to Michael Pavanka. to Kristich, his 30th goal of the year. It is 1-0 for the Caps. 18 seconds later, it looks like a replay. Again, Johansson, Povanka waits. There's Kristich. 18 seconds later, his 31st of the year, 2-0 Caps. That was in the first period. In the second period, nice pass to Stevie Thomas. He goes high, and it is 2-1. His 24th of the year. King and Curvers assisting. It is 2-2. Bill Berg from Loisel and Volek. Mike Ridley has scored his 25th of the year for the Washington Capitals, and here it is, Ridley's 25th of the year, and the Caps are now leading the New York Islanders by a score of 3-2. That game being played at the Capitol Center in Landover, Maryland. I know you people in Winnipeg are celebrating the curling championship by Vic Peters. Let's check in on the Winnipeg Jets. It's in the first period, no score against Detroit. Jets lead the Calgary Flames by 4 in the Smythe division. Joe Carter has hit a solo home run today to give the Toronto Blue Jays a 7-0 lead, but in the top of the third inning, Juan Guzman gave up a grand slammer to Juan Gonzalez. And right now in the sixth inning, it is 8-5, the Toronto Blue Jays out in front of the Texas Rangers. Montreal Expos are trailing. That is 4-4. It is now 5-4 Atlanta in the eighth. The men's Super G at Aspen. It is Kjetil André Amott, the winner from Norway, his first ever World Cup victory. It was a Super G. The top Canadian, Roman Torn, was 29th. Just a reminder, following the ceremonies at the Agridome at the top of the hour in about 18 minutes from now, we'll take you live out to Invermere, British Columbia for the Women's Super G. But right now, as promised, let's go back live to Don Whitman at the Agridome in Regina.
Thank you, Brian. And the competing teams are now marching onto the ice surface here at the Agridome as we get set for the closing ceremonies. They are led in by the massed pipe band. Of course, at every curling event, a large army of volunteers is required to ensure the success of the competition. And there were volunteers here in Regina, team drivers, ticket takers, ushers, team hosts, who all made their contribution to a very successful event.
Well, that's what makes curling a unique sport, Don. The involvement of the total community in putting on an event like this. It takes an enormous amount of time away from your job and your family, but that's how much they love the game of curling. They want to participate whatever level is possible. It's a great credit to the province of Saskatchewan, the successes that they've had.
The pipe band followed by the Regina Lions band. And then the curlers make their way into the Agridome. The general chairman of the Brier, as we said earlier, is to be congratulated for organizing a tremendous
And now
committee.
let's welcome the curlers who have given us so much enjoyment this past week. Team Yukon, Northwest Territories.
Steve Moss and his Yukon Northwest Territories rank out of the Yellowknife Curling Club with a record of 3-8 during the week.
British Columbia.
Jim Armstrong from the Royal City Curling Club in New Westminster posted a 5-6 record.
Saskatchewan.
The host entry of Brad Hebert of the Caledonia Curling Club, also at 5-6.
Northern Ontario.
Al Hackner, a two-time Canadian champion from Northern Ontario. From the Thunder Bay Curling Club, moving into first place ahead of Ernie Richardson in all-time Brier victories. He gained his 51st career win this week. Quebec with a 7-4 record. fourth place in the standings, Ted Butler out of the Buckingham Curling Club.
New Brunswick.
New Brunswick, represented here by Mike Kennedy of the Edmundston Curling Club, a 3-8 record.
Nova Scotia.
Nova Scotia rink struggled during the week. Dave Jones of CFB Halifax winning just one game while losing 10.
Prince Edward Island.
Ted McFadden of the Crapaud Curling Club in Prince Edward Island, a 5-6 one-loss record.
Newfoundland.
Glenn Goss of Newfoundland was in it all the way, and the Newfoundland curlers very popular during the week. The St. John's Curling Club representative, 6 wins, 5 losses.
The 1992 second Labatt runner-up, Alberta.
The 1991 Labatt Brier champions, losers by a score of 7-4 in the semifinal. Kevin Martin in his rink from the Avonare Curling Club in Edmonton.
The 1992 first Labatt runner-up, Ontario.
Russ Howard, the 1987 Canadian and world champion, unable to duplicate that performance here in Regina, losing in the final on an extra end, 4-3.
And the 92 Labatt Brier champions, Manitoba.
Well, Vic Peters, for a number of years, in contention for the Manitoba Championship, but unable to win it. Finally this year, not only won the province, but adds a Canadian title to his list of achievements, defeating Russ Howard of Ontario 4-3 in the extra end. The Manitoba ranked the top team during the week of round-robin play with a 9-2 record, and they add the final win that will take them to the World Championships later this month in Garmisch, Germany. Earlier, so far, it's been a big year for Manitoba curling. Connie Laliberti winning the Scott, now Vic Peters the Brier.
Now, ladies and gentlemen, to present the Labatt Tankard, the symbol of curling excellence in Canada, please welcome Mr. Bob Binnendijk, President, Western Region, Labatt Breweries of Canada. Mr. Binnendijk.
Honored guests, ladies and gentlemen, curling fans everywhere. Once again, the Labatt Brier has showcased the very best that sport has to offer. And on behalf of Labatt's, I want to congratulate all the players for your exceptional display of curling during the past 8 days. To General Chairman Don Lewis, the Regina Organizing Committee, and the 1,000 volunteers who are the essential ingredient of any Brier, and ultimately the reason for its success, we thank you. It takes an incredible amount of time planning and staging this Canadian Men's Curling Championship. We recognize that and salute you for your effort. To the people of Regina and surrounding areas, the Brier really has been an unparalleled success, and we thank you for your tremendous support and hospitality. To viewers across Canada who have watched not only today's final, but games throughout the week, we hope you've enjoyed the best curling in the world. Next year, the Labatt Brier will be held in Ottawa, and we wish the city and organizing committee success in their preparations. Now, the moment we've all been waiting for, and the moment these players strive to achieve, the crowning of the 1992 Canadian champions. Will you please join me in congratulating the team from Manitoba? It is my sincere pleasure to present the famous Labatt Brier tankard to skip Vic Peters and teammates Dan Carey, Chris Neufeld, and Don Rudd. Gentlemen, a tremendous performance today and a well-deserved triumph for your curling excellence throughout the week. We know you will represent Canada well at the World Curling Championships in Germany later this month. Congratulations.
Mr. Benedict will now present the champions their keeper tankards, Brier rings, and Brier champion chevrons. First to skip, Vic Peters.
Thank you very much.
Well, the Labatt Brier tankard presented for the first time in 1980. The only other time it has gone to Manitoba was 1984 when it was won by Mike Riley. That gold encrusted tankard weighs 150 pounds and is valued at $100,000. The tankard itself doesn't weigh 150 pounds. That also includes the span that it sits on.
Thank you very much.
Coming on now, the individual Brier tankards.
Individual trophies being presented to each member of the rink.
Thank you.
And they will also receive championship rings and, of course, the gold medals.
And lead Don Rudd.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
On the stand with the 4 members of the championship squad, John Loxton, who is the Manitoba 5th.
He's got
Donnie, you got a shave, boy? Gotta use that razor, Donnie.
Do I fly down?
Lead Don Rudd during the week determined that he would not shave until Manitoba won the tankard. Well, as you heard Vic Peters say, he can now get the razor out. Don Rudd, Chris Neufeld, Dan Carey, and Vic Peters, the 1992 Canadian men's curling champions, winner of the Labatt Brier tankard. For Don Duguid and Colleen Jones.